Going tonight, which is load up my boat at lunch.
Up here, it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it's.
So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, with a little bit of a presentation first. So we'd like to go ahead and get going this morning. And the first thing we have is Public Works, Bridge, County Engineer, with a little.
Yeah, yours, yours was the commissioners are muted.
It picked up on Brian and then it just kept repeating Gus.
Seemed like maybe when I muted,
There's like an echo.
we sound good now. A little bit of echo.
Yeah, yours, yours was the commissioners are muted.
It picked up on Brian and then it just kept repeating Gus.
Seemed like maybe when I muted.
There's like an
I'm not sure why. Speak to the microphone.
Test.
echo still.
That's right. That's.
So they can't hear you guys.
Test.
Still echoing.
That's the microphone. Back there.
Yeah, I can hear it on the live stream now. I can't hear it here anymore. That's good.
If I talk loud, everybody can hear me, maybe.
Yeah.
Hear you.
Yes. Okay. Darcy, you try to say something real quick.
I don't think I want to say anything.
Why is it repeating? That's what's weird.
Okay, now it's working now. Not sure why I did that.
But it's not working in the room. We have no sound in the room now.
Can you hear me now? I guess that's the echo. I gotta be muted.
Yes, yeah, no, you guys the state muted, the state muted,
I'll leave the IT to the.
No, these mics were not.
Play back through Zoom.
You turn these off.
they were always.
This is like,
Turn these off.
this is like.
Can you do that?
Last batter, there's 2 outs and he's got 2 strikes, the end of the 7th inning, bottom of the 7th, no pressure.
One of these.
Yeah, I couldn't handle the pressure here.
No, I didn't do anything with the top 2 guys.
Oh, these. Yeah, because we didn't come in.
Right, did Andrew turn something off on our side?
It did.
Yeah, what I did and did to you yesterday, I muted you all.
But did you undo it? Because we never touched.
We both have these microphones and video cameras, and I feel like Andrew might have done something yesterday.
So what does this say if I push this?
This is how the sausage is made.
Says 75.
Why did these come back?
But it's not these, it's those,
Well, Colleen,
those cameras got mics, them web cameras got mics.
Yes, it is.
Testing, okay.
Test,
So
test,
it's coming
test.
from these 3 computers. Let's try turning it back on.
Test,
So it's
test,
coming
test.
from these 3 computers. It's weird, I've never had that happen.
I hate to do this to the pub, but if you killed that, I guess we've got to do that. I mean, if we were just in this room, is that okay if you killed the public feed? Is that,
well, that takes us down.
oh, that takes you down.
I see. Or that's right, this, I need to back.
What do you think we need to do, like?
Mhm.
What do you think we need to do?
I
just fixed it, it takes
These microphones off. I'm not so sure. Oh man, yeah, that's off. All
What I do at home is unplug the damn, thing,
Back up.
plug it back in, if that don't work, you just go do something else.
Log out.
Let's try that one more thing. Do you want us to all log out and log back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still on here.
Well, I know Andrew did something with these 2 yesterday, but I don't know what.
But yours is on.
Oh.
Yeah, yours is muted, okay, that's what.
Lloyd's was still on
I was muted, says muted,
there.
audio.
Yours. Yeah, so it's about 10 second delay, but as long as it's not heating it. Yeah, yours is muted, okay, that's. Okay.
So you went out and came back in. They did not. Wow. So do you still want us to go out and come back in or not?
No, you're good still.
Okay,
I'm trying to fix Brian's screen now.
now I can
Shows everything.
join from my browser.
Okay, but screen this. It shouldn't be repeating anymore. The stream now is not repeating it. You guys just can't hear each other, I guess. But I can still try to get that working. Okay. Screen this. It shouldn't be repeating anymore. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
I know, me too. Why would we depend on these guys?
So this should be the only thing that shows up. That's what meetings and live stream show.
He was telling me to push F11 yesterday.
Cause it used to be in IT.
Yeah, that makes it bigger for you
Like
guys.
that, you mean?
Thanks.
Yeah, so if you wanna.
Yeah.
Say the thing.
Which app?
F11.
F11.
You have to click in the window, it might not be highlighted, you just click anywhere, you just click right there, that'll work. Yeah.
There you go. Full screen.
So we should be live. Everything's good.
Yeah, everything should be live, it should be working.
Test, test. You hear me in the back? Okay. You guys hear us okay in the back?
Just speak up, I guess.
The
mics are-
Oh, you're starting.
Yeah, these are on.
Yeah, so those are on, yours should be on, it's nice
I-
to see.
Yeah, I think it's on. I'll talk loud.
Still gonna hang by for a little longer.
Can you turn this up or down?
Now the videos. off.
You gotta be able to turn that up or
Is that
down.
off? Okay.
Yeah, cause that's the only thing that shows up on the meeting is literally,
That
this
is going out.
presentation, that's it.
It's going live.
Okay. Okay.
I'll keep.
Okay, we'll try this again.
Put it out there, make sure everything's up to date.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We'll go live and here we go. We'll try to make up 10 minutes, 12
You're all
minutes. We'll see how we do. Thanks. The purpose for today, we normally, of course, have our budget meetings and we do an annual presentation to the commissioners, kind of an update of where we're at with the road and bridge system. We thought this year with focus on knowing we're going into a tight budget, doing this publicly would be good to for the public benefit to show where we've been, where we're at, where we're headed within the road and bridge division. So we'll kind of move forward. As you know, within the Public Works Department, there's an engineering or kind of a fleet division, engineering, which is kind of the admin, road and bridge division, and then solid waste division. And this first presentation here is focused on what's in the red line here, which is basically the road and bridge division. Overall, in the Public Works, there's 40 full-time people, 6 part-time, 6 seasonal. Those part-time, of course, are in solid waste. So moving over to road and bridge, again, there's 5 in the engineering division. We've got fleet management, which is basically Jason and a couple helpers, part-time helpers. And then in the road and bridge division, 21 full-time, 6 seasonal, which includes our person in Crandall. And then we talked about solid waste division. Looking at the chart, I know that's hard to see that. You can see with the X's there, we've lost, really it shows 4, but one of those was Mike Lohr, so he fills 2 spots. We've lost 3 people this calendar year, replaced with 2 individuals. The 2 in green are the 2 new people, which both in the POW crew. And then the person that we lost in the Cody crew, we're not replacing at this time because we were 1 heavy within our equipment operator ranks. So we're kind of moving on with that. And Steve's got that reflected in his budget, I think, for the salaries. With the Public Works Department, of course, the administrative side, which is basically engineering, we're responsible for planning the road system for the county. We do a lot of going after funding to help cover our projects and to keep the system in top shape. We responsible for the fleet management side, working with the mechanic, whether it's on the maintenance or repair side of things, but basically tracking when and where we do renewals and replacements, that kind of thing. The procurement, when we do need new equipment or materials, we're taking care of that side of it in the engineering. Interagency coordinating and permitting, that's all of our gravel pits have to have permits, our water permits for when we're getting water. We administer the pavement management program, which is trying to keep track of how our pavement's doing, where we're at, when we add what treatments on a rotation. and we coordinate that with the state through LTAP. We do get service requests daily, so those we filter those and those get distributed through the road and bridge foreman, take care of those items. The reporting compliance, again, that's some of the annual reports through BLM for gravel pits or whatever it is. We take care of all that. Road naming and addressing, we administer that through our department. Any new road names or creation, and that's really, we even within the cities, we're on the road naming committee, so we participate in that part of it. Right-of-way permits, anytime somebody does something in one of the county road right-of-ways, we administer right-of-way permits and work with the road and bridge foreman to make sure that we take care of any utility conflicts, that kind of thing. Do a lot of traffic speed studies, training. Those are the things on the administrative side. On the road and bridge maintenance side, I emphasize and stress that we're staffed for maintenance. That's what we want to be staffed for, which is the road grading, cattle guards, culvert repair replacement, snow removal's a big one in the winter, sanding, cleaning and maintaining the bridges, tree trimming, road paving, patching, chip sealing, sign installation repair, and I'm sure I'm forgetting several other things that these guys do. But then with us being staffed for maintenance, we do have shoulder seasons where we do have the capacity to do special projects, whether it be a bridge replacement, like a large box culvert or something like that, or even projects for other departments. We have done that within Road and Bridge, which we'll talk about a little bit. The county road and bridge system, there's roughly 636 miles of road within the county road system. Roughly half of those are paved. We get requests all the time for wanting more roads paved, but roughly half of ours are paved. You can see that there's roughly 99 miles of road that's even unimproved that's within the county. So with some pretty rough roads or roads that don't have any crushed base on it, there's 81 miles. You can see we got 69 bridges within the county road system, which is a lot for Wyoming. Just because of our hilly country here, we do have a lot of bridges. Then number of box culverts, 82, over 2,000 regular culverts, 175 cattle guards, and 6,200 signs. It's managed by one guy, so our sign tech stays pretty busy. There's culverts if you want to see a graphical. Trapper keeps track of all this in GIS, but that's all of our culverts across the county. Green dots. I'm going to try to move quick here. Cattle guards throughout the county, 175 of those, which almost at least every few years have to be cleaned out. The addressing side, new addresses per year. Kind of after COVID, we saw those spike a little bit. Those are getting back to kind of a normal level there. New addresses, that's administered in our office. And again, the right-of-way permits, same thing there, kind of peaked out right after COVID. But we do 100 and whatever that says, 124 in 2024 new right-of-way permits. And then we talked about new road names. Most of those are subdivisions. So if there's a new subdivision required a road. Revenue, which that's basically, we don't have much in the way of revenue other than right-of-way permits, new addresses, things like that. That's kind of fallen back down after we had kind of a spike year. Too much graphics. Service requests. I said this before, and I like to think it's true that our service requests are trending down, and I think that's because of the job our road and bridge crews do. And they see things before somebody calls, and they're out taking care of things and maintaining the road and bridge system as it should be. And I think that's reflected in the calls we get. We still get our fair share, but that is down. And then when we do get service requests, you can see the largest percent is road grading, our gravel roads, with half of our gravel roads, especially when you get rain and certain weather, in a matter of, weeks or months, the road can be back to a pretty miserable condition. So we do get a lot of requests there. And then road condition. So you can look at road grading, road damage, road condition. That's roughly half of the service requests we get is condition of the road. So I try to keep up with that. Traffic counts, Trapper's here with us. Him and Whitney do that for the entire county. We get traffic count data every 3 years for every road that we maintain. They're doing that as we speak, as a matter of fact, in different areas. Talking a little bit about funding, other than our standard funding that we get through the 3,100 budget, which is road and bridge, and the 1442, which is the engineering budget. We do get money through the state, which is basically gas tax and severance tax. And that's basically what funds that. It takes a while for that to build up. You can see the total revenue fiscal year 24-25 was about 960,000. That's about how much we get in that fund. And then it takes one big project like a Willwood project to basically zap that account. This chart kind of shows that we built up to about 6.5 million. And then we've tapped that back down to just under 1 million now. I know that says 1,000,008, but I think we're just under 1 million now. And need to kind of build that back up. In terms of what our budgets look like over the years, you can see this is 3,100, so this would be the road and bridge division. These are, I guess, the colors that you see. The yellow was, I think, the Keeper era. The pink was Greg Meineke, and then the blue, since I've been with the county 11, 12 years-ish. You can see that the bottom part of that chart, which is the purple, yellow at the bottom, that's the salary and wages, which have really stayed fairly flat or, slightly about at inflation maybe. And then you can see that I'm going to say this politically incorrect, but during the Biden years, you can see how things really took off on the inflation. And you can see that a lot of that isn't wages, but that's road materials, equipment, things like that really took off. And you can see the two big spikes. I'll point those out. Those are 2 years during my time, two different budget years where this department, Road and Bridge, really took a hit on behalf of the county to help balance the budget. That's what happened then. We're prepared to do that again. But that's what you see with those big spikes when we took some cuts. Moving forward, engineering, same thing. You can see we've been fairly flat. Kind of ignore some of the noise here because we're still kind of waiting on actual expenses to see how we finish out. But we've been relatively flat, slightly increased over the years. This is kind of the number side of it, which you can't see on the screen. I apologize, but road and bridge, you can see this again, looking at the wage side of things. Or actually, this is total budget. So on the left, this left chart, you can see kind of before my time, the budgets were increasing about 4.3% per year. Since my time with the county, the road and bridge budget is about this is the engineering on the left. I'm sorry, I got these backwards. But our engineering budget has been about 1.22% per year, which has been less than inflation. So pretty proud of that. We've got 5 people now. When I started, we had 6. So I hope other departments can say that. Then the wage related things, you can see kind of the before, Brian, which is the top numbers. And then during my time, I could say substantially less on the wage side. Then you look on the road and bridge side. And again, it's looking at these last few years with the inflation. I wish it looked better, but we've really shot up. And that's where, we can talk about why that is here. Again, this is looking at when I kind of come to the county, you can look at the different comparisons. Road materials and maintenance has gone up 91% since I started with the county. That's just flat road materials is what that is, 91%. Salaries, wages, about 32%, which works out to be about 3% per year. And this is road, bridge, and engineering combined, by the way. And the left column is fiscal year 2014, which is when I started with the county, to now, fiscal year 26. Equipment renewals and replacements, 134%. I caution you not to focus too much on that because year to year that can really spike depending on what we're buying. And same thing on the leases and rentals. We just happen to have something we're going to need this year. That's a small number anyway, but don't worry too much about that. Fuel was not as much as I would have thought, about 30%, which is about 2.7% per year. Equipment maintenance has skyrocketed 160% since I've been with the county. Tires and tire repairs, 65%. Administrative expenses, 91%. Signs skyrocketed 84%. We're actually using less professional services, doing a lot more in-house than when I started. And then we are spending quite a bit more on safety, which I'm happy about. I think we've really invested in that program. Other thing I'll invest or go before I go too far. On the left side, you can see what we were getting when I started on outside funding, which you can see Title I, Title III was basically what they got. They did get a little bit of tap striping, and then of course the county road fund. And you can see now what we're getting now, which is everything from CMAC, tap money, the county road fund's up a little bit, flat money for like the South Fork project, safe routes to schools for all funding that we've got, Wyoming Game and Fish and Trout Unlimited, where we worked together and partnered to replace some culverts. We got the Bros project, where we're working on the bridge on Lower Grable. So we really do work hard to try to get additional funding to help augment what we spend out of our local budgets.
Sure. Brian, can I
Oh,
interrupt you really
yeah.
quick? Sorry to interrupt. Just going back to that last slide. I just wanted to point out, I think that's a really important piece that the public should be aware of when they look at your budget, because I think they sometimes maybe misunderstand that our budget looks so big and it's been inflated. But I think it's important that they note that there's a lot of outside grant funding that's coming in that they may not be aware of when they look at the budget. So I just wanted to make sure that, because some people probably don't know what FLAP and Title I and Title III, those are all.
Yeah.
Can you just explain those just briefly, really quick?
Exactly. And I guess for the public's benefit, it's still taxpayer money. It's tax funds, but a lot of what I'm listing below in the green is like outside Park County tax money. So that's us going to the state and trying to fight to get CMAC is dust control, dust suppressant for roads. TAP is transportation alternatives. That's for bike, walking conflicts in Powell that we're looking at. Of course, we know the County Road Construction Fund we talked about. FLAP is Federal Lands Access Program. So only certain roads are eligible for that. And everyone always says, well, why can't we get FLAP money to go do Willwood or some other project? But it's only for roads that access federal lands. And the South Forks was always rated really high because it accesses millions of acres of federal land. So we've been able to capitalize on that here in Park County. The safe routes to schools for all, that's really a planning level information for do a countywide transportation plan. That puts us in a position to apply for and get additional grant funding. Is the reason we're doing that. We had a lot of help from Powell Economic Partnership to get that grant. I had a lot of help from them, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, the Game and Fish Trout Unlimited, that's the Paint Creek Culvert Replacement projects. BROJ means bridges off system, and that's partly due to some of the ARPA infusion there. We're not having to pay any match on that. That's a $2.5 million bridge that's on our top 5 to be replaced out of the 69 bridges that's getting paid without any local dollars on that. Does that answer your question, Kelly?
Yes, thank you.
I think I beat that one. It's kind of just some specific examples. Tell me if I get long-winded here, but culverts, you can see that I didn't have data from way back, but you can see that, when I started with the county, we were $500, $400 for an 18-inch culvert. We got as high as over $1,000, so they've almost doubled. They backed down a little bit our last purchase. A lot depends on how much we buy at a time. I'll say that. You can see the hot mix numbers started out around. Again, it was really closer to $50 a ton when I started. We weren't doing as much hot mix. When I first started with the county, we were not doing a lot of more cold patching. This hot mix has proved to be more efficient for us. But you can see how those prices have gone up over the years. Just the cost of a plow truck. When I started, we were paying $150,000, $160,000 for a plow truck fully equipped. Now we're more than $100,000 more than that ish. Over that time. Same thing on the cost of motor graders. You can see a new motor grader, which we have capitalized on the buyback program, but still those costs have gone up. We'll go into that as much detail. Just road-based material. These are all things that we use a lot within the road and bridge department, so they're critical to our operation. You can see that the cost per ton of that, it bounces all over depending on where we get it. Crushed gravel and Matizzi is very expensive compared to what we buy say in Cody or in Powell. But depending on that year, you can see how that fluctuates, but still an increasing trend that's clearly visible there on the cost of road materials. Then, so what we try to do on, like we talked about, external projects, which is projects that are contracted out. Willwood was a big one, which was all paid for with county road fund dollars. And that was completed in 2024. A good example of, it really takes that fund to be able to capitalize and finance those big projects. Same thing with the flap dollars. These are projects that we would probably never get done if we had to spend local dollars to do it. We try to do a lot in-house. These are some examples of projects which is our labor, equipment, and materials that we are able to do in-house with our people and our equipment. Realignment on 7RP was one you can see there. That was, a $750,000 investment there. Road 6, couple $100,000. That's for a 1 mile stretch of road. Again, we're able to do all that in-house. And then you see those last two items. That's examples of the road and bridge department doing work for other departments. Those two cases, it's the septic receiving facility and the sewer lagoons. And we could talk about here when we do solid waste about recapturing those $2 because solid waste owes the road and bridge department those two numbers. So we're going to try to work that into the budget of the solid waste. That'll be a topic for later. 7RP widening we talked about, critically needed before and after. Guys did a great job with that. The Road 6 design and improvement. And I'd say just the construction, but also the design we try to do in-house, which I think saves the county a lot of money over time. We did all that in-house. Road 6 turned out really nice. We talked state shooting complex, another example of things that we're going to try to do as much as we can in-house just to try to keep costs down. We're going to need some help with it. I think the county's committed to the $750,000, I think, towards that state shooting complex road. We think that we're going to be somewhere in that $400-ish thousand that'll be external costs. A lot of that's already been purchased in our current budget, which is like road materials. We did a lot of the survey and the cultural resources, the paleontology, all of that's already been done. We'll still have to have a paleo monitor that'll be in this new budget. But some of that's already been spent out of the current budget, and we've got budgeted amounts set aside for the rest of that when we go to build this road, which will be culverts and things like that. Special project, we talked about the landfill, the saving that. Our guys, and it was during the winter months when things are a little bit slower in between snowstorms, they were able to excavate that and prepare that cell to get ready for waste. And then we brought contractors in to actually build the liner and the leachate collection systems for that. The septic receiving saved, I bet I'll have to give actual numbers, but a lot of money by doing that earthwork in-house with our crews to build up a pad for that new septic receiving facility, which that helps us stay in budget on that, which again is outside funding for that ARPA money. Partially, half of that is local funded. Pretty good project. Then other things that we do in-house, and this is more on the administrative engineering side, which help with the HVAC projects, administering with bid contracts, pay estimates, things like that, reviewing submittals. We're doing that also with the library project, which is in progress, and of course the septic receiving facility. We talked about special other projects. This is an example, the Game and Fish, where we're doing 3 culverts with Game and Fish, Trout Unlimited, and BLM are all partners on that. Kind of an example that we're providing the engineering, and then the road and bridge department provided the installation. You can see the before and after pictures. This is one of 3 culverts. This is the one furthest upstream, and our guys did an outstanding job on that. I mean, I think it's a textbook of how a culvert project should go, like a multi-plate culvert like that. They really did an outstanding job. And part of this was Game and Fish. It was for fish passage that they, the before culvert you can see on the left, it was basically acting as a block and a restriction for fish habitat. And once we did get that dug out, and I should have grabbed a picture, that culvert was trashed. I mean, there was nothing left in the bottom. It was badly in need of repair and replacement. And so this, you can see on the right what we've ended up to, which really opens up things for fish and does what we need it to do too on the road and bridge side. We're also actively involved in several other things, whether it be CMAC, assisting, town and Matisse corridor study, urban systems planning, the active transportation plan we were involved with, helping out with that. There's no shortage of things to help with. I was like to get Ben's picture in there. On the asset management, we've really come a long way since I've been with the county in the way of our asset tracking, and that's everything from equipment, materials, job cost accounting, and what we're spending on projects. The guys hated it first. I think they still hate it, but they do track. They do track daily every bit of material, every load, everything they're working on, what project, what road. So we have all that. We keep track of on the equipment side with our mechanic, Jason. Everything that we do on every piece of equipment is tracked as far as our maintenance costs. And we keep track of that. That helps us tell how much we're spending on a piece of equipment, when renewals, replacements, when we trade something in. And again, that's that. But yeah, just I think excellent tracking that we now have on our assets. We're not perfect or all the way there yet, but we've made great strides. I'll kind of try to speed up here a little bit. This is an example of dump trucks. One thing I think I hear, and I know you guys hear, is it's like, well, the county's driving these new trucks around, or new dump trucks, or got these shiny new motor graders and all that. And I think what a lot of people do, or then when they see a budget where, boy, they're in there again buying a new dump truck. But you got to recognize for 630 miles of road, it takes several dump trucks. It takes several motor graders to be able to keep the roads in the condition that they're in. And I think for the most part, like this shows like the dump trucks at the top of that. Our average age dump truck's about 9 years old. The average mileage is about 120, which both those are, I think, really good. I think Commissioner Till would attribute to that. I mean, those are low, or we're sitting really good on our dump trucks. We probably won't need to buy a dump truck for a couple of years. But you can see in the industry, you start having 300 to 400,000 miles on a dump truck. You start having engine transmission issues. That's where you start getting into some costs. Your ideal trade is in that 250,000 mile, 10-year-old version. Can you keep them longer? Sure, but you're starting to roll the dice a little bit. We talked about that there. Our average dump truck, about 13,500 a year, which is probably a little low, but that's what it is. Tractors, we are using the semis for belly dumps, using those a bit more than our dump trucks. And you can see our average tractor semi is about 11 years old, roughly 200,000 miles. They can go quite a bit longer. They're on the road type trucks. Ideal trade for them is about 500,000 miles, 12 years old. And that's what they do in the trucking industry, which is over the road type stuff. They will last 1 million miles or more. We've had them, pass through landfill or whatever. We've had them that high. But again, you're kind of rolling the dice after some point. So I think we try to do what we can on the equipment renewals and replacement, so we're not stuck with a fleet that we're spending a lot on maintenance, or having to have a budget year where we got to replace a lot of equipment because we've let so much of it fall behind. Quickly here, fuel. This I didn't update since our spring, so this probably needs to be updated a little bit. You can actually see the cost per gallon's really the same or less, probably fixing to go way up with what's going on in the Middle East, but that's a whole separate subject. And then it does like our diesel costs. You can see last year how that was real high despite having a low cost per gallon. And that's just depends on what we're doing, whether it be, I think the Road 6 project, the 7RP, some of those things really will suck up the diesel on because we're making a lot of trips. So it just depends on what we're doing. Lots of training, again, emphasis on first aid. The guys are really good. Every single one of our operators are MSHA certified and trained. So really try to emphasize that. They try to better themselves through Safety Congress and getting technical trainings on different subjects so they know why we're doing what we're doing within their system. So we've got a really knowledgeable crew. Within our administrative side, we're active in WACERS. I personally am president of the state chapter, which is Wyoming Association of County Engineers. So we're plugged in on legislative things, that kind of thing. I'm on the state committee for Wyoming Public Works Standards, where we're rewriting those standards as we speak. And I'll say that it's a much easier process than what I'm seeing you guys go through on your reg amendments. The NACE, National Association of County Engineers, I'm the state representative for that, for state of Wyoming. We're on the LTAP Advisory Board, which is, you know, that's the Local Transportation Authority through the University of Wyoming, which is, again, some of the programs that are statewide, we participate in that. And then active in Wyoming Engineering Society, National Society of Professional Engineers, and then SWANA. Some of those I pay for myself. Some of those are paid through the county budget. Planning and zoning reviews, we do that through outside the county. It takes up a lot of our time. Ben spends a lot of time with that. It's you know, over the years it's been a lot. This is the name of the game, crash data, trying to keep our roads safe. We have seen kind of a slight increase in the total number of crashes. And I apologize, I haven't had a chance to update to pick up some of the last year or two of data, but we do track that and are conscious of that by road. Get that information through the state. And if I could get one point across today, it's you know, cutting 1 year is if we need to make a budget cut like we've done in the past, we can do that. We're equipped to do that. Our roads are in great shape. Our equipment's in great shape. We got good people. We're sitting good on materials. We can handle tightening for a year. We can survive 2 years. But if long term to operate that way, you're going to get in trouble, whether it's the pavement, and this is a maintenance chart for pavement. This again is YDOT or anybody operates this way, is you keep your good stuff good and you invest in it through maintenance so that you're not spending a lot of money doing major rehabilitation and replacement. But you can apply that to equipment. You can apply it to road materials, buying things in bulk or whatever. You got to invest and pay a little bit along the way, or you're going to pay big eventually. County paved roads. I think most of you know that Park County has the most paved roads maintained by any county in the state, by quite a little bit. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but we do have that. There we go. And I think this is the part I'm kind of proud of, that even though we have the most, we're in the top, like in terms of say crack percentage, we're number 2 in terms of lowest crack percentage, meaning our paved roads are pretty good shape. The roughness index, same thing. I think we're, tell me if I need to hurry, top 10 there, roughness. There is a delay. Pavement quality, you can see we're 6th. Anyway, we're towards the top of the chart in everything on the quality of our paved roads. And that's because we, again, commissioners past and present have invested in the road system, and the taxpayers have invested in the road, you know, credit to them. They know the importance of maintaining a good road and bridge system. Costs of maintenance, and again, on our pavement management costs, we did take a dip there. Then you can see pre-COVID, the average cost per mile to maintain a paved road is pushing, we're probably at about 10 grand per year now to maintain a mile of paved road. And that's just maintenance. That's your chip seal, crack seal, patching, striping, things like that. We are scheduled to chip seal in both Cody and Powell to start after the 4th of July, depending on what happens with the budget, of course. Bridges. We have, like we talked about, we have the 69 bridges throughout the county. Those are inspected by YDOT every 2 years. We do have good tracking of that. We've got good information on our bridges. Again, that's part of our asset management program. I will say that out of those 69 bridges, we've got 14 that are rated to be replaced or rehabilitated. And those you can see in that green column. It's hard to see for those on the screen there. But these are high dollar bridges. You know, we mentioned the one that YDOT's replaced, and that's number 3 on our list. I got 1.9 million there. It's really pushing 2.5 million to replace that bridge. That's the one on Bitter Creek. But you can see there's no shortage of projects. And the thing that we always try to say there is out of 69 bridges, is with your bridges lasting 50 to 75 years, a county like ours better be planning on replacing a bridge about 1 per year, or at least be thinking about it, or you are going to get way behind. And again, this is everything from the structural considerations, hydraulic, geometry, things like that. Won't spend too much more time on that. Okay. On the bridge ratings, we'll say that our average bridge is 45 years old. And then our average rating is 4.65, where 10 is considered a brand new bridge, perfect, and 0 means it's in the water, collapsed. So we're sitting, I think, probably pretty good, about right. Other than we do have some that are aging that need to be addressed. Average bridge replacement about 1.1 million. And you can see we have on average about 170 vehicles per day that go over our county bridges. We talked about this one. Oh, I mixed this up a minute ago. The lane 9 over Bitter Creek, which is one I pointed to, that's pretty high on our list priority, built in 1937, needs to be replaced. So that number probably is a good number, 1.9 million. The 2 point something million one is the one that YDOT's doing for us on Lower Grable. So I mixed that up a minute ago. Some, lots of different things, whether it be abutments or girders. I won't go into all that. We did try to do some Band-Aid patchwork, hired somebody to help us do that to try to buy some more years out of the bridge. One thing we've come a long ways on, we do a lot of monitoring of our equipment, and it's real-time monitor. We've got data at any given time. We can say where our dump trucks are at, where our motor graders are at, our tractors, basically anything that's over the road type vehicles. We can track that by basically it's the mechanical side of thing, whether there's errors. Jason gets updates if there's some issue with a piece of equipment. He knows that right away through an alert of some sort, and it can help him code what the problem is. Efficiency, downtime, idle time, all that's information that we can track on any of this equipment. We've had it been very favorable on where somebody says, well, hey, one of your guys was up here and you tore up our utility, and we can pull up this data on a motor grader. We can say, hey, our guy wasn't even up there. We hadn't been in that area. And that's happened more than one time, more than a couple of times. So that's a pretty neat thing that we're headed towards. No shortage of projects. Like I said on the bridges. I mean, you start talking South Fork Flat Phase 2, we've committed to our match about 2 million on that. I say committed, we can still get out of it, but that's scheduled for 2027, I believe. 28 now, keeps sliding. Willwood Phase 2, you start adding these projects up. Green Creek's been on our radar for a while to rehabilitate, pave that project. There's the bridge that we talked about on Lane 9. You can, like I say, you start listing the projects, there's no shortage of things, and every one of them are pretty costly. Oops. South Fork Phase 2, we talked about a couple miles that's supposed to be out there. The other thing I guess I'd like to say is that, since I've been here, we just got a great crew, great attitudes, working with them. They care about their jobs, and I sure don't want to lose that. I mean, it's great to work with people that want to be here and that take pride in their work. So I'm really, really proud of them. They work good together. They're willing to help other departments. No complaining that I hear about. Sometimes that I know it does happen, but we do have a good bunch. And that's kind of the end of the presentation. We can kind of jump into the budget. Let's see if I figure out how to stop sharing. Right there, probably. Oh, okay. Oh, that should go to here right there. Right there, stop that, right? Take over. Perfect. We'll start with 3100.
Doing road and bridge first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in case we run out of time, we'll focus on that.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Time.
Okay, and I'm gonna pull it up on my end so I can watch you. Oh, no. Okay. On the road and bridge, somebody take a while to pull up. First thing on the salary and wage related things, like I mentioned, ours, I think Steve said it's going to be with the increase in insurance, which I don't know what that is for our department, but that's going to be offset some by hopefully by more than some, but by us not replacing the one person that we lost.
Okay.
So that's incorporated in the budget. some things that we did, let's see, the advertising and legal. We changed that to 1,000. Again, some of the staff turnover, being able to advertise for those positions or being able to, the vacations that Ben and I have got quite a stack of those that we've got to do. So we've left $1,000 in there. I think that, I don't remember where that was before. Well, if you got that. let me look
Brian,
higher.
those vacations are something the county is proposing, it's not
Yes,
from outside.
correct. These are all vacations that were initiated, so they're not things that we readily could farm out to others.
Not reimbursed either.
Not reimbursed. Travel and meetings, we've lowered that from 2,500 last year to 1,200. Our 4-year average has been about 1,100. So again, trying to be purposeful about what we do. I do believe in training and professional development. That includes all of our operators. But that is, we still think we can cut that back some. Education, training, and meetings. The other was the travel. We went from 2,500 to 2,000. And our 4-year average has been about 2,100. So I think we'll be okay there. Materials and supplies. We were at 6,500. We're cut that down to 3,500. We doing some things with buildings and grounds, like they're going to start paying for the cost of the water at the Powell Road Bridge Shop. When I say the water, this is the bulk water that we get for our shop, which is about $500 a month. So we're going to try to push that off on buildings and grounds. Diesel fuel, we ended up, we spent about 321,000-ish in our current, plus any, I think we did have some last minute fuel bills that we put in. Our 4-year average is right at around $400,000 just for diesel fuel. We lowered that from 500,000 to 400,000. With what's going on in the Middle East, that may be a huge mistake. But I figure if that happens, we'll just have to come back to you guys. But so we did lower that to 400,000. Unleaded fuel, same thing. We spent about roughly 25,000 this year. We lowered that from 50 to 35,000. Oh, because our 4-year average on unleaded's been about 35,000 a year. So we brought that budget closer to that. So we cut that a little. Safety equipment, we lowered it from 3,000 to 2,500. I'm a believer in safety, so we don't want to cut that too far. Our 4-year average is about 2,200, so that puts us in line with that. Safety, personal protective equipment, same thing. I think it's important. Our guys have come a long way on that, and they buy in and do what they need to do. Our 4-year average is about $5,000. We did spend about 5,500 in the current year. I think we changed that to 6,000, so we're close to being in line there. Safety training, 4-year average about 3,600. We lowered that from 5,000 to 4,500. Vehicle equipment and maintenance, we changed that from 320,000 to 300,000. And Jason's gonna make sure we're the hero on that. We spent about 292,000 on our current year. 4-year average about 276,000. So I think we're okay at 300,000. Hopefully nothing big breaks. It just takes one big engine to blow or something, and that could throw that way out of whack. Chip oil. We've got 1.3 million that we've planned. That will end up being expended next spring. And that's or I say that next spring, that's this summer. That's chip oil this summer, and that's where that would hit in. Those prices were locked in back in January. This is an item, if we have to cut, we've got it on our list, whether it be, us skipping a year is doable. We hate to do it. We've got a good program, but that's one that we've earmarked for that. Tack oil kind of goes into patching. If we eliminate the patching or reduce the patching, that tack oil would go down, pretty small number. Striping, we cut that from 100,000 to 50,000. Based on what we've done in the past, we've been about 50,000 a year. We do have some striping needs, but I think we can survive and be tight this year. Hot mix patching is a big part of our budget. 1.2 million is what's budgeted. And again, that's pretty high on our list that, it's important, but if we have to make some cuts, we could cut some portion of that in our list. Chips, we've got budgeted 600,000, and that gets us 2 years of chips in the PAL area or the PAL crew. We're sitting okay right now in Cody. And we've got actually that, I won't say under contract, but had that bid, and we have the contractor on standby to find out what you guys want to do on the budget, because that is being produced or will be started to be produced here pretty quick. Crushed gravel, we put in 100,000, and that's 12,000 tons, and it's mainly for the Powell area, Matisse area, where we need that crushed gravel. Our supplies are dwindling in those areas. Pit run, we're on pace to do about 2,750 in the current year. 4-year average is about 3,000. We lowered that from 30,000 to 20,000. And me and Ben butted heads a little bit on this, but he is correct. We are now having to spend a lot more on pit run than we ever have. We're having to basically pay gravel prices to get pit run because nobody wants to sell it as pit run. And this is particularly true in the Powell area. We're having to spend a lot of money. So that one we better plan for the worst and hope for the best because it is getting expensive. Dust control, I'll have Ben help me defend this one. $10,000 to 100,000. Again, you can see that half of our roads are gravel, and that's a large percentage of what we get on service requests. What we get through CMAQ is not included in this number, which is on dust control, but it does help us make roads that we do have gravel last longer. Our guys we'd like to be able to do more of that, and that's why we've got that in there. Is this the year to do it? You can tell us, but it's I think we've shown that it's a good investment on those dollars in terms of reducing what we've got to do for maintenance. And like I say, it gives a better road for the public that lasts and holds together longer. You guys can tear this apart when we get through here. Sand, our current year, we spent about 44,000. A 4-year average about 19,000. We did raise that. We do need sand. Are going to need sand going into the winter. I even cut this back from what the guys told me, but about 5,000 tons total. We're paying about $10 a ton now for sand, and that's all that is pretty much necessary thing we've got to have for safety. Mailboxes, we lowered that from 250 to 100. That's just so we have one when our guys hit one or whatever happens there. Cattle guards, we lowered that from 30,000 to 0. Ben and Chip just bought some cattle guards for some specific projects. Us cutting that to 0 puts 0 cattle guards in our inventory, which is okay. We just need to know if we have one to replace, as in like say the Powell Airport, they want us to replace one there. We don't two cattle guards there. We don't have any in the inventory and nothing budgeted to do that.
Okay.
Seating we lowered from 30 to 5,000. We've got a few things like the road over there at TE Ranch. We've got some on 7RP. We've got some little things that we need to do. We've got more that we could do, but this is a good year to be lean on that, so we did lower it. Tree trimming, we could spend almost as much as we wanted on that.
Mhm.
We did lower it from 30 to 20,000. A 4-year average has been about 8,000 per year. We spent about 20,000 in our current year, I believe. Miscellaneous 21 current year. Riprap, we are planning 2 loads to Cody, 2 loads to Powell. That's about $60 per ton. Is what that is on the riprap. Title III, we budgeted 0 because we don't think we're going to get any of that. Title I and Title III, we put those at 0. We're hoping that we get that, but planning for the worst. Leases and rentals, we've got some specific projects where we're going to need to rent crane. We did lower that from $20,000 to $15,000. We'll see how that goes. Furniture and miscellaneous equipment, we lowered that from 500 to 0. We'll just be tight, and if they have to sit on a bucket, they'll sit on a bucket. Bridge maintenance, Lane 7 Bitter Creek repairs, we've got some things there that's in that budget. Guardrail repair and maintenance, we spent 4-year average about $13,000. We lowered that from 35 to 30,000. We spent 24,000 in the current year. Ben's got a couple specific things in mind on that. Culverts, we kept that at 75,000. We do have some Lane 5, some pretty good sized projects. That's some 36-inch pipe there, plus several others. We do go through a lot of culverts. Then I guess the big one, vehicle equipment's heavy machinery. We are budgeted for a loader for the Cody crew that gets rid of the guys could tell us, but our last case loader, which they are having more and more problems with. And Jason and Chip and his guys are able to keep that band-aided together. That would be something if we needed to cut, we could and last another year. The things that we feel pretty strongly we need to do, we need both of our water trucks need work. They both have some leaks and the tanks are in pretty bad shape. So we've got money in there for that. And then probably our biggest problem is we've got a berm that's there. We're spending, or it's going to take a lot of money to get it going, and we might be at the point of just replacing that particular berm sweeper. We did have a tractor truck in there. And I said 95,000. This seems low. I guess that may be the net. And then we did have to carry over our Mack trucks, which are about 504,000. That's carryover from last year. So I think if you take that 504,000 out, that would be really where we're at with the budget. The things that, like I mentioned, if we have to cut more, I think total where we're at right now, I'm showing that 21% on road bridge related expenses that are non-salary, or just say, non-salary related cuts. We feel like with everything we've done there is about 20%, which I think is substantial. And then 16%, again, some of that depends on the salary when you throw the salaries back in there. And I know there's insurance adjustments that I haven't included, but that's what we've voluntarily done. If we need to cut more, we don't want to, but if we have to for a year, hot mix for Green Creek, we could move that to the county road fund. That's 367,500. We could still do it and pay for it out of the county road fund. As I showed you, the county road fund is, there's no shortage of projects there, but we could do it, or we could not do it at all. Hot mix maintenance, we talked about maybe lowering that. There's 858,560. That would be pretty high. Maybe we cut that in half or some percentage there. Equipment, like I said, if you took out, and I think I've added this up right, if you took out the things and keep us, we know we pretty much need to go after the broom and the water trucks, and then pay for the 2 dump trucks that we're carrying over. That's about 700,000 that we've or actually, I think I said that wrong. There's about 700,000 that I think we could cut if we cut those other items and keep the broom, the 2 water trucks, and the carryover dump trucks. Chip oil, if we cut that, which means no chip sealing this summer, that's about 1.3 million. And I put the lowest on the list is chips, 600,000, because if we cut that, that's 2 years of not chipping, because we're basically doing that for 2 years, or we make a year of chips, but I don't think they would honor our prices. Our prices are going to go up. We buy up by a couple of years at a time to get our best volume-based prices. That's everything I got on road and bridge. You want to talk questions for 3,100 real quick before I go on the others?
Yeah, Chair, again, the chip oil, that's quite a bit up. Is that because we didn't do anything last year?
Yes, it's partly that. Yeah, I was gonna say part of that is, so last year we didn't chip Willwood, which is about 10 miles ish. So we left that out of the rotation. So our quantity was way down, if that makes sense. So we did drop and we're kind of coming back up. So this is a full 60 miles of chip sealing. And that's what we typically do in a year. Does that make sense?
And that includes freight,
Chip oil and freight. But those prices are locked in. That when I say locked in, we bid that in January, and we've got that price from Western Emulsion. We've got the price for the hauling. So we're on go for those if you guys approve our budget. But that is why it was up from last year, is last year didn't have Willwood. In our 30 miles, we took that out of their 30 miles, they did 20-ish, miles.
I think at this point, unless there's other from the commission, certainly appreciate what you guys have done. And bringing it down where we can, what makes sense, and giving us some suggestions. we haven't made any definite decisions yet and won't until we hear everything. We're looking at having kind of a work session to look at finalizing the budget on July 1. That afternoon probably, when we'll know. We do know, most of you heard PILT came in last night, so that made us breathe a little bit of relief into the budget. So see where we're at, but I don't think we'll make any definite decisions today on any of them, Brian, but appreciate the suggestions.
Sounds good.
See where it goes.
And if, I know I'm running long, there's, are we okay? County Road Fund was another, if you want to look at that budget real quick, the revenue I think's good. Oops, I'm leaning on it. What we put in there on the county road fund expenditures is the phase 2 culverts. And then, what's that put Green Creek?
That's
sure-
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000. So again, a lot of that depends on what we do, on whether we want to move some money over from Green Creek, but that's kind of neither here nor there. The other one, 3130 is, I guess, an important one to bring up. You can see we've budgeted, 260,000 on the, transportation alternatives. A lot of that's carried over from the previous year. Same thing on CMAC, carrying that over from the previous year. And then the safe routes to schools for all, we got that late. But about all that's getting carried over. One item that the guys will help me, but one of these top ones we put for the State Shooting Complex Road, which I believe is the third one. And so I think we want to be sure that's in there, Steve, that we can talk about that.
313.
Yeah, okay, you probably got it pulled up
It's here.
here. Okay, so that's where we're putting that and tracking that.
Okay.
Real quick, 1442, I won't beat that to death. You can see we lowered that by about 6% total. So, staffing's about the same. And then I guess non-salary related items, we were able to cut about 30%. So, quite a bit. But that's it on Road and Bridge, unless you have questions. Guys, anybody leave anything else? I brought a big crew because they were afraid I were gonna give the farm away, so they all came to the field. Miss anything, guys?
Okay,
And just so you guys know, on the water truck side of things, that's just to fix the trucks we have.
okay. It's not for purchasing anything. Okay,
Thanks.
okay.
Water tanks.
Water tanks.
And
Okay.
that berm's about beyond repair, you told me.
Yes.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
Okay, so it's just the loader in there that's maybe a 50.
The loader's kind of,
Okay,
Chip really needs it, and I think we're at that point, but can we wait a year? Yes.
okay. Thank you. Ben,
I just want to add one thing, like Brian's list is good. When he was talking about the chips and the contractor being on hold. Just so the public knows, if we don't do that and we come back next year, they're going to be more money.
Oh,
The
yeah.
year after, they're going to be more money, so, that's the thing,
Not surprising.
so.
Okay. Do you want to do the engineer one then?
Oh, I thought it did that. 1442. I can, I've got it, or you got that pulled up, Steve? 1442?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay. I can give you the rundown of that real quick.
Sure if there's anything else in there that,
Yeah, I mean, we lowered, let's see, what did we lower there? Travel and meeting expense, we lowered a little bit from 2,500 to 1,000. Education training from 2,000 to 1,000. Again, just trying to be more purposeful with our expenditures, plus looking at what we're actually spending. Field supplies, we lowered from 1,500 to 1,000. Current year, we're about 680. Equipment, furniture, 1,500. We lowered it from 1,500 to 1,000. We averaged about 1,000 per year. We could put that at, lower if need be. We try to not buy it unless we need it. Other professional services, we lowered that from 5,000 to 1,000. Remember that the work that we're gonna need, say surveying or whatever on the shooting complex and testing, things like that, that we're gonna need is in a separate budget, so we're not including that there.
what about on that one, the road petitions and vacations, we've got 0. So where is it that we're?
Well, that's a really good question.
We don't budget anything and we make it up on the revenue side of things, because we never know
Well, but I'm talking about the ones that we're doing.
Well,
Just have them-
and I, Madam Chair, and I guess where that is in the advertising and legal. Everything else, that's basically Ben and I doing it in-house, and that's why
Okay.
there's no money there for that. If something comes up, then we'll just have to talk about it.
Okay.
We don't anticipate any expenses there, other than what's already covered in other items, legal and advertising.
Anything else on county engineer? Road and Bridge, County Road Fund?
Oh, that is something Ben wanted me to mention real quick. Sorry, Madam Chair. Commissioner Teal brought it to our attention and we've since looked into it a little bit more about the state land easements, about county roads that cross state lands. We have more of them than I thought. We have about 33 of them, right, Ben? That were portions of county roads that cross state land. Looking into it, they're writing the rules as we speak, and it should be this fall before we see what's actually in the rules. It depends on how they address them. Something that's a dedicated county road and that we could provide our documentation like we do anybody else, that the minutes, that this was established as a county road and it's that easy, then it'll be great. If they do like what Bureau Rec does or some of these others where they don't recognize it as the easement and there's some survey involved, there could be substantial costs. So I think what Lloyd was hearing or Commissioner Till was hearing was that they're going to try to work with us and that not be a big deal. But that's a potential cost out there that, and time, takes a lot of time.
And these are
to-
for already existing, just a
Existing county roads that cross state
updated
lands.
establishment?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are more of them than I thought.
And with that, Madam Chair, have you contacted the Director of State Lands, and as far as when the rulemaking, are they going to provide any of financial assistance in the survey and recording?
We didn't get that. We talked to, who did you talk to,
I
Ben?
talked to one of the director's staff and I kind of got handed down the chain. And basically they indicated that they would not participate in any of the costs for the survey, but there would be no application fees. So for 5 years, there's gonna be no fees or no easement, as far as like payment for the easement as they would do typically. So there'd be no costs associated with that.
That
But-
might be
but the
what I
county would bear
understood,
the
but
cost
I
of
was
the
wishful
survey.
hearing of financial assistance, but they're waiving those costs for a 5-year period. That's exactly what.
So-
Yeah, and
potentially,
that's where we throw out the survey, because if we have to go do some retracements to establish something, which is typically a process you would do, that could be big dollars. And so we throw that out there, that's hanging out there. And like I say, it's gonna be a substantial amount of time for
Mhm.
Ben and I, to try to gather and get the necessary documentation to do that. But it'll be a good thing. We gotta get 5 years to get it done.
That's just it. Some of this, we may be able to do some of them fairly simply in this year and then have to budget. If you find there's places that you're gonna have to, we can budget next year.
We really, no sense worrying about till they get the rules made with this fall, but it's hanging out there that we're gonna have to keep an eye on.
Okay.
That's everything on Road and Bridge, I believe.
I'm sure. I just wanted to add that, just to what you said, that I appreciate everything you guys have done here. And I think this is a really big budget, piece of our budget. And I appreciate just you've said we could do this for a year, we could get by for a year. My concern in putting some of this off in a year is that in 2026, I still believe constitutional amendment A is on the ballot for further property tax reduction, which will further decrease revenue. So I would just caution us to consider that delay of a year, like you were saying, as far as maintaining roads and those kinds of things. If we push it off, we may be in a different, more difficult, challenging situation next year, depending on what the voters decide on that constitutional amendment A.
And that's a really good point. That's why I emphasize that I feel like we do what we need to do. We operate the department like it should be operated, whether it's equipment, whether it's people, whether it's the materials, to keep the roads in good condition, which is what the public expects. We start talking about a sustainable major cut like that without Title I, Title III, when you start talking the PILT, or the property taxes, this department looks a lot different. And I think the expectation is the public will see that in the quality of their roads, deterioration of bridges. It won't take long and the public will feel that.
Agreed. Okay, Brian? Those, okay. You wanna shift gears to solid waste?
Solid waste. Any road and bridge guys, unless you wanna talk garbage, you could cut out.
Thanks, guys. for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks for coming in.
You stay there, where you want. Oh, you don't, do you want me to stay? You don't have to. Travis has.
Yeah, I gotta get done.
We gotta.
Like I said.
Ben will take that over if we need to look at something. All right, let me see if I can pull up and share. Solid waste. Yes. Go. Did you stop sharing, right? Steve? I did. You need? So you go, and I need to go, whenever you go back to that, and I go to this. And I become share. No. Show up. Takes a minute, I know. I'm telling it to share. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Okay. There we go. All right. So Madam Chair, this next one, going over the solid waste budget, which is 3240. And same thing as we did on Road and Bridge. It's a lot of things going on within solid waste. It's a little different than it is all an enterprise fund, so that the money's money in, money out should all balance, or hopefully does. But we'll give you a little update of where we're at, then get into the budget details. So with the solid waste division of the Public Works Department, I guess the main thing is we're in the business of handling waste for Park County and surrounding areas, and that's garbage, that's septage waste from septage haulers for rural Park County. All of that is in our, you can see the revenue. We had 426 accounts active in 2024, so pretty good customer base. We generated in 2024 about 2.5 million in revenue to help offset our expenses. You can see that our largest customer is City of Cody, 26% of our revenue for waste, or that means they bring us the most garbage. Kiel Sanitation is at 16%, City of Powell 13%, cash customers 10%. That's mom and pop, just bringing in their weekend garbage or whatever. And then Two Tough Guys 9%. They're bringing us a lot more now, and you can see the wastewater there from Kiel and then various others. But that's a kind of a typical year of where we get our revenue in the enterprise fund. Got to have a place to take all this stuff, so we have waste disposal facilities at Cody, Powell, Clark, and Batisi. Batisi is now closed and is basically under post-closure care. Our main regional facilities at Cody, the Park County Regional Landfill, that's the one with the liner and where we've expended a lot of money to make it the regional facility for the county. We also have C&D disposal and materials recycling at Cody. We continue to have C&D disposal. That's construction and demolition. I'm pretty bad about acronyms. And then we do materials recycling like tires and metal, dead animals, things like that at Powell. Then we also, for rural Park County in the Powell area, they drop off their MSW there at the Powell landfill, and that we pay to get that transferred to Cody. We do the same thing in Clark, same thing, a municipal solid waste transfer. We have a construction demolition disposal, and then limited materials recycling, metal and things like that. We also do monitoring at the Crandall and the sewer lagoons and Crandall transfer station that require occasional maintenance for those facilities as well. The thing I guess to stress with all of the facilities, these are all highly regulated waste management facilities. They all have permits with DEQ. They're monitored. They require groundwater monitoring, environmental monitoring, explosive gas. These all have to eventually be closed at great cost. And so these are not cheap facilities to run. We talked about Park County Regional Landfill at Cody. We've got just kind of frame of reference. You got the entrance facilities when you come in, the scale house, which was put in about 15 years ago. This area that I'm kind of hovering, if you see my little arrow, was the closed area that unlined that closed out 2017 or whatever it was, 16. And then this big area, 65 acres on the left side, is basically the part that was patented through BLM, was expanded, did a major modification around 2010. Picked that up with all that's going to be our lined new facility. It is our lined facility. That's where we've been operating at least since 2016. It was really in place 2010, 2011. All this stuff on the left there, the stormwater ponds, the line leachate lagoons, you can see all this materials, special waste management that we have, whether it be metal, concrete, dead animals and things that are all handled there. Powell landfill, real quick. You can see where my arrow, that was an area that was closed out. That was where the household garbage did go. We have an area here where my arrow is that has been filled up, phase 1 for C and D. And we recently, about a year ago, prepared phase 2, which is where we're taking waste now for construction demolition. And you see all the tires and concrete and things like that, recycled asphalt that are managed as recyclable materials. And the scale houses are in the upper left-hand corner, shop and things like that. Clark landfill, same thing, the big with all the dots on it, that's a lined cap that went over the top of the MSW area. It was since been closed out. We're now operating an area just north of there. Clark, we'll try to go quick here. Matisse landfill, nothing pretty other than if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't even know it's a landfill. Been closed out, reclaimed, good grass. Edmund and his guys keep that mowed and maintained, make occasional repairs to the cap. We're monitoring groundwater there, explosive gas. We continue to do that. This, even though we could quit taking waste in 2012, it was accepted for post-closure care in December of 2016. So from that date, the county is responsible for monitoring it for 30 years from that 2016. So that's an annual expense of great cost for groundwater, explosive gas, and maintenance, keeping up to make sure that everything's the way it's supposed to be.
Brian, what does Matisse do now? Do they haul it?
Right now, in fact, they have their own collection truck. They do transfer.
Okay.
They bring they're under contract with the county and bring their waste direct haul to the county landfill at Cody
Thank you.
right now. And then I think a lot of the citizens in the area have contracted with private haulers too. So we get a certain amount of that. Sewer lagoons, as we all know, that is part of the enterprise fund. You can see my orange or yellow shaped area where my little arrow is. That's where we're operating right now. And you can see off to the upper right, somebody fell asleep. My upper right, you can see where my arrow is. That's where the new facility is being built with the city of Cody. So in 2 years, we hopefully won't, it's going to take a while for these lagoons to dry out, but we will reclaim this. And the county will have that as a piece of property you can look at selling or repurposing or whatever, but that's where we're headed. That new facility should be in place in service in 2026. So that's under construction as we speak. So it takes people to manage these facilities. And this is you saw the one for Road Bridge. This is the box in red here, which covers the solid waste division, which is a division of Public Works. You can see in the infrastructure, kind of hard to read up there. We have had a lot of turnover. We continue to have quite a bit of turnover in solid waste. It's not a glamorous job. You're out in the elements. It is what it is. We do lose a lot of people. I'm going to mess up these numbers here, but you can see again, the X's were people that we lost or positions we lost. We try to fill from within and whether it be a lot attendant moving into an operator position, we try to do that whenever possible. And then the green are new people. So whether it be gate attendants, lot attendants or whatever, we think about one position heavy, which is a floater on a gate attendant, which pushes one heavy that we're in the process of talking about what to do with on that situation, or whether we need to cut that out. And then on the operator side, we are actually one down. We just lost our site manager, which would have been our probably most experienced operator at Cody. And our plan is to not replace that person, or at least replace that person. We budgeted to replace them with a entry level operator, which is a savings. I think we figured 30,000-ish or something, but we've got that. Steve's got that incorporated in the budget, I believe. Thing to, I guess, to stress is that no matter what happens with the staffing, somebody doesn't show up, people sick, we're scrambling to cover, the waste keeps on coming, so that's going to happen. And so we've got to be able to take care of that. We've seen what happens, and we've been in the position where when things don't get addressed, things can go south pretty quickly in terms of the condition of the landfill and getting in trouble with our permit with the state. So it's important that we maintain a staff that can handle it and handle all the various functions that are necessary. The other thing, I guess, that to take from this is there's been a reliance in the past on seasonal labor, whether it be litter pickers, things like that. Provisional labor, we call it, where you call them when you need them. These people are harder and harder to find and almost impossible now. We about can't find anybody. So we're absorbing that into our lot attendance duties. So they're basically doing that in-house. So we have incorporated that into the budget where we've cut out any part-time seasonal because it's really just not happening. We're not spending any money there. I think I talked about this stuff. So in terms of, you saw what we have, and then in terms of what we need, these are basically, we've gone through it. Travis, Edmund, and I spent quite a bit of time going through this, and with Aaron as well, going through, say Clark landfill. It's 3 days a week. And we basically have a gate lot attendant there. We bring somebody down and move a piece of equipment in every other week from Powell or Cody to do what we need to do within the landfill, which is be picking up garbage, covering the garbage, preparing a new area, whatever we've got to do there in Clark. And again, it's just a construction demolition landfill, but it's run as minimal as I think we could run at that landfill. Powell landfill at any given time, said again, this would be a snapshot in time. This is not how many people work there because you're operating 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. Powell landfill, but we got to have at any given time a gate attendant. We've got to have a lot attendant. That's somebody taking care of whether it be the dead animal areas or things with the loader or helping the public out at the MSW drop off, whatever that is. That's the lot attendant's kind of the do everything guy. And then we've got one operator, which is runs either the compactor, runs the loader, or and that's the same person as our site managers figured into that operator. So they're in that rotation. Cody landfills, again, a lot busier. That's where we take majority of our garbage. It's where we get our waste haulers come from. Kill, Two Tough Guys, City of Cody, City of Powell. And we've got to have, of course, a gate attendant at any one time, a couple lot attendants, and that's, again, helping the public. That's litter picking, projects that Edmund has, whether it be mowing, maintaining the leachate systems, pulling pumps. They do all that kind of random stuff, and there's no shortage of things to do there. And then the 3 operators, that's somebody on a compactor, which that compactor really needs to be moving most of the time because that's our airspace. That's our bread and butter. And then we've got somebody pushing up garbage to the person on the compactor. And then we've got another person on an operator, whether it be a loader, dump truck, hauled cover material, that kind of thing. So that's kind of a basic. And we put our mechanic, we do have a mechanic operator hybrid who does a great job and he helps Jason out. And if it gets too tough, we bring in Jason, but he does a lot of your basic mechanic stuff, but he's in that 3 operator rotation as our site manager that we're not replacing. They would have been in that 3 equipment operator rotation as well. And without that, filling that site manager spot, that puts Edmund, our assistant landfill manager, is probably spending more time in there covering those operator roles when he can. And, what he does, for those know that Edmund, he basically manages the field side of things at all of our county landfills. So he's making sure things are going good in Powell, things on the operational things, Matisse, Clark. He wears a lot of hats and does a good job. And then same thing, we talked sewer lagoons and transfer station at Crandall as needed. Equipment, to just kind of take a snapshot look of what we've got for equipment. We did look at with, we know what all happened with our compactor and not replacing, but rolling the Tana and ended up inheriting a BOMAG compactor as a backup. But we've come to find out we're now using that at the Powell landfill. That is still our backup. We've seen what happens if we go a month, 2 months without our regular compactor, bad things happen. We've already seen what that does to us efficiency wise. But we're using that compactor in Powell, but in doing so, we're able to eliminate one of our track loaders. So we're looking in our current budget to basically sell. It might not be our oldest machine. It might be the John Deere. Because that's the least desirable of the cat loaders that we have. And then you see the D6 that we inherited from Road and Bridge out of the solid waste. It's a 2004 model. The motor grader, it's got low miles. We've got it in 2021, but it's used from everything from keeping the roads passable in the winter to in and out. And then they even use it down at the sewer lagoons to grade that road, or the roads in Powell. They'll kind of motor that around. I don't want to say it gets used a lot. It also has the machine control on it. So we use it in Road and Bridge when we're doing a project where we're doing grading. We keep that on that machine so we can use it for that. Several pickups and things. Better do all this here. Yeah, litter crew, the dump trucks. We've got one in Powell, one in Cody. We got an articulating dump truck in Cody, which is really the right machine to have there. But you got to be able to have that to haul cover soil. We got a converted truck that we use for alternate daily cover, posi shell. We talked about the compactor. These two loaders are probably where we're in best shape on equipment. They're fairly new, both pieces of equipment. We got one in Powell, we got one in Cody. They're used a lot. I mean, they're a very versatile piece of equipment. So I think we're in good shape on loaders. Talked about all that. I was asking these guys or grilling why we have so many trucks for our pickups in Cody. They all do different things, so it's really not per person. We got one that's set up, say, with a fuel cell, and one of the setups has got the welding and service things. And the guys are looking for ways to combine those trucks. But as I'll show you in a sec, these are all old truck hand-me-downs that some of them aren't even highway ready, and they could be. It jumps out to me that there's multiple pickups there, but then when you look at what they really are, like you can look there at the pickups. I mean, we got one that's 35 years old, out there, and so keeping usually have one or two that are down or need work while the others are going. You can look across there with our dozers, track loaders are average about 10 years old. Sitting, I think, in good shape there. I don't see us doing anything other than selling the one. We're in good shape on the compactor for a few years. Could exercise the buyback on the Tana in a couple years. I think we got 2 more years, Travis, maybe 1. But we can look at the 5-year buyback on that. Dump trucks, you can see we've got the old seasoned dump trucks in there. So I think we're sitting good there. The tractor, same thing, old Road and Bridge hand-me-down. It does what it needs to do, and we're just fine there. But anyway, not a lot of shiny new equipment at the landfill, and if it is, it doesn't stay shiny new very long. You can see the hours and miles there down there below. I think nothing really jumps out there. Guys do a good job. Then it takes, we talked about the facilities, the equipment. We have, basically big cost to improve capital improvements to do what we need to do to have a place to put the garbage. When we did the integrated plan back in 2008, 2010, which is when I started not working for the county, but as a consultant, I did some work with the county. That kind of started the transformation from dumps to sanitary landfills. So that was a big deal. You can see since that time, we've spent over $20 million in capital improvements, which is a hunk of change. That's everything from a line cell in 2010. It's all the closures that we talked about, shop in Powell. Again, this is all through an enterprise fund. We did have to get some assistance through the state. We've had assistance through the general fund a couple of times, like here recently, just to bail us out cash flow wise, but we're back flush there. But I guess I stress all this, that when we see that the enterprise fund has, like right now, I think it's got 1.3 million. That's earmarked for post-closure care that we've got to have by the state, and we can't touch that. And that's got to be there. And then, or if we just spent 2 something million on the sale. And so you've got to build up reserves to be able to pay for those capital improvements when you need them. This is a little bit of summary. Again, I think I'm pretty proud that we are at a position with the enterprise fund where we are debt free after spending 20-something million dollars. I don't think any of you guys were here, maybe you were, but back in 2017 when we paid back SLIB $2.5 million, which was kind of a testament to we came in under budget, did the projects, which is the cell construction, the closures, the phased reclamations, did all those ahead of schedule, under budget. And Commissioner Grosskopf, which was here at the time, kind of led the charge on this. We were actually able to save, you can see it in the letter, we saved quite a bit of interest over time by paying back those loans early. And so we're in a good shape. You can see the recent expenditures, the phase two cell, I say 1.29 million there. It might have been a little bit more than that, but that was recently done. We built the PAL shop for about 1.5 million, not just the shop. I got to be careful there. That prepared the next cell that we're operating in now in PAL. And then the scale facility or the scales total about 1.5 million. And then the in progress, we've got about 4.3 million that's in progress for the sewer lagoon project. Half of that is county local commit with ARPA dollars, and the rest of that, 2.3 million-ish, is state ARPA funds that we went after and got to help fund that project with the city of Cody. Just a visual of the closure related projects, the phased reclamations. You can see what was involved. Some of those, though, was 2014 to 2017. You can see in that lower left, the Matisse, you saw the one where it was all grass covered and you can hardly recognize that it's a landfill. That was in progress when we were closing the facility. And you can look in the upper right-hand corner, Clark. Looks like nothing now. You would not even know it's there, but it's got a liner over the top of it. And it's got those pipes that you see. It's got gas collection through the liner because you've got issues when you put a liner over waste. Gas got to go someplace, so it's got ventilation. Anyway, lots of money spent and time to get to where we're at today, which is a regional facility in Cody. A little bit of summary about the phase two cell that was recently built. That now puts us capacity wise of over 1.2 million cubic yards of airspace. Phase one is that red line that you can kind of see there. That's where we've been operating since 2016. As of these guys could tell me, January 2025, we moved into the new cell, phase two. You see what we're using for airspace. These two together, even though we've spent a lot of money, we've got now life in these two cells for 30 plus years. So we're in it for the long haul there and really in a good spot. You remember the phase 1, 2 together, you can see the blue contours. That's what we're filling up to. You can see down below where we've been filling, which is the phase 1, but with phase 1, 2 together, you can see what that does to you, where you not only get capacity in the new cell, but you piggyback over the old and you can go higher and have more capacity there too. Again, that's 30 years of life. And then that area that we just looking at was phases 1, 2. There will be a future phase 3 that's long after I'm gone. And altogether, we're looking at 60 plus years of life at the Cody landfill, here for a long time. Phase 2 cell, I'll go real quick here, but it's not as easy as digging a hole and starting to put garbage in. There's a lot of prep work that goes into it, design, permitting, approval. It's got a composite liner system. It's got an underdrain system for being able to get groundwater below the liner. And then the pipe above the liner is leachate that goes through the garbage and gets into that system, has to be collected and go to a lined pond where we evaporate that leachate. A couple of pictures, that's preparing to get into the subgrade. Again, Road and Bridge helped out tremendously to get that to that point. This is the underdrain system. You can see the two drain pipes that tie into an existing system. To your left there is phase 1, the big mountain. You can see down at the bottom at the toe of phase 1, that's liner system for phase 1 had to be exposed, and we tie into that, or we did tie into that for phase 2, so that everything's continuous. Excuse me. The underdrain system, again, this is the geocomposite, which wicks underdrain water to those drain pipes. I'll try to be fast. Various layers, you can see them going in. You see the black on the lower left, that's the liner. Over top of the white is a bentonite geosynthetic clay liner. So there's two liners. They call it a composite liner system. And then under that is an underdrain. Again, this was all done in the last fiscal year. There's the various layers going in and getting where these guys are sitting on their phone, it looks like. They're, I think they were actually watching college football games, I think, at the time.
Though, not your.
No, not our crew, but anyway, it's kind of more pictures of that. There's Edmund there watching over things. I will say that I think with myself designing and then the internal construction quality assurance, Edmund was my guy on the ground that watched over all this and saved the county a lot of money by being able to internalize that. We did get, help from Morris Merrily that did a lot of the survey related work, but you can easily spend 250, 300,000 to do a cell like this. And we internalized those costs for Park County. You see all the quality control that goes into that, liner systems, the testing, the documentation. Again, seams, double track fusion welds where the liner has to be tied together. Lots of QA, lots of as-built information. Then over the top of that liner system has to have a protective cover layer. And you see that going in right there, which is to protect the liner as we're putting garbage in there. You see them shaping up. This was Nicholson doing that, shaping up that phase one. And this is with all the protective cover down. Looks real close to what it looks like as we're putting garbage in there. This was the pump control system, which again is going to be there a long time. So we went ahead and built a little building around this, the leachate and the under drain water that all goes to ponds, built a building around it to protect that for many years to come. Because it's got our pump and control systems. And that's what that looks like. That was part of this last phase. We did some resurfacing around the entrance facilities, our pavement that's under that was now about 15 years old. So putting a little bit of money back into that to keep the surface good there. Then we'd also built some concrete retaining structures around our clean out risers for our under drain water and our leachate. This was at Powell. This was the phase that we just finished up a few years ago. We built phase two, and you can see it under construction. Nicholson helped us out with that. Edmund did a lot of that work and overseeing that, but that gives us about 4 years of life. We think with the compactor there, that'll actually last a lot longer now. We don't really have numbers yet to back that up, but things are going good there. We did build a new shop here in the last year and a half, 2 years to keep our facilities, our equipment indoors and maintained and serviced. The other thing that we did is we had, prior to these improvements, basically no sanitary facilities out there. We had basically an outhouse, no water, nothing. And so we combined that in with the shop and built new entrance facilities with the scale house to where the people are now that work for us at least have some creature comforts that they should have. And so we're pretty happy with that. Again, there's kind of the floor plan of the 3 bays and the scale house. This is it under construction. Inside the shop, there's outside the shop. Sewer lagoons, we talked about major project that's under construction right now. It's supposed to be in place 2026. And we talked about the benefit that Road and Bridge provided by doing a lot of that work in-house. Quick look back, all the investment back around 2021, we were in trouble with DEQ. We had shutdown orders. We were in violation of a lot of things. We really had some serious problems at the landfill. I think a lot of the public that have lived here for a while remembers how bad that highway was with litter. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for all of us involved. So a lot of operational things that we've done since that point. Everything from we're now combined or consolidated our C&D waste and our MSW into a single cell so that our crew's not trying to jump around to different areas to maintain it. It's more efficient. And this is pretty common in the waste industry, by the way. It depends. There's a breakover point when you get a certain amount of C&D where it makes sense to have a separate area. We're not at that point. We did introduce the compactor in March of 2022. We're already seeing that that's paid off probably already in improved efficiency and getting more tons of waste per cubic yard of airspace that we use, which is critical in the waste industry. Each cubic yard of airspace costs a bunch of money. And so the more tons you can cram in there, that makes it last longer and it's more efficient. Powell began bringing waste to Park County summer, early fall of 2022, which was a significant boost for all involved. Two tough guys now bringing us more waste since July of 23. They did some things with the operations. Again, Edmund was a big part of this, where we're now reworked how we're operating a working face, which helps us keep litter down. The county's invested a lot more in litter fences and actually moving and keeping the litter fences both portable and permanent to where they need to be to best control the litter. And I think all these improvements show with what you see along the highway out there now. And we get compliments, not every day, but we get a lot of compliments about the way the landfill looks. That's come a long way. We also do a lot with real time. We monitor at any given time. Myself, Travis, we can pull up our leachate systems. If there's a problem with the under drain or the leachate on the pump systems, we can look back at data and see when it failed, why it failed. And that's very, very handy. We also have that with the equipment. We'll kind of show that. This is the leachate here, where we can pull that up and look at a pump system, a pump on, pump off, what the levels are in the sump. And these are federal and state regulations. You got to maintain less than 12 inches of leachate on that liner at any time. It's a federal regulation. And us having the data and be able to show that we're doing that is really handy. Again, Travis gets this. This is once a week, I believe. This is an old one from 22, I think. That top part is, but I think this bottom is actually June 1st through June 6th. And you can see what he does every given day. The orange is basically when that compactor is working, and the gray is the idle time. So he's able to track actual working time versus idle time. You can see on Saturdays when it's a lot more of your household garbage, or actually less waste too. You can see where that use goes down and the need goes down. Again, this looking at a month of June, a typical month, we're able to look at the tons of waste that goes in every day, and then also be able to pull up, again, this is real-time monitoring on our compactor, the level of compaction. And you can see for the month of June, we got 1,500 pounds per cubic yard of effective density in that lined cell, which before that compactor, we were getting 850. So that shows you the benefit of that. Again, that's phase one, typical reporting we can get. Trying to do more with recycling. We do a lot with, we just crushed some concrete, been a year, 2 years ago. We're able to use that in road and bridge for a project that we needed. They're able to use it for roads. You guys just approved a recycled or a scrap metal contract. So lots of metal recycling. Tires, we're talking about different things we can do with tires. And then we want to even step that game up even more. That's probably our focus at least from me till retirement, is efficiency and more repurpose, reuse, recycling, because we can do more with that. Every one of these facilities, as we discussed, intensive groundwater monitoring. Every 6 months, you have to do that for all of our sites. Over 100 constituents. These are volatile organics, metals, things that make sure that we're not contaminating groundwater. And again, very costly, lots of reporting, looking at statistical trends. We have an outside consultant that does statistical analysis for us, and they have to be able to report that to the state every 6 months to show that we're not having increasing trends or increasing background water quality, which is basically upgrading it from the landfill. Again, this is Matizzi and all of our facilities. We talked about tonnage. For the most part, the orange down there is household garbage, MSW. You can see that it was basically linear up until about the time Powell came over. When Powell came over, we see that waste stream and the two tough guys as well started to deviate away from linear. So we're now seeing an increase in our waste stream. But the good thing about it is, this is where I think we take pride in this, is that even though we're getting more waste, which Powell's 5,000 tons a year, whatever it is, 5,000 or 6,000, and two tough guys bringing that additional waste in, bringing the C&D into the line cell, a few other things. Oh, yeah, C&D into the line cell. Anyway, with all those things, you would expect this line to deviate and go up in terms of our airspace used. And you can see that we've actually been able to maintain what we were doing before, bringing all the C&D waste in, bringing all the PALs in. We're still using airspace about at the same rate that we were before Powell, which shows you the value of that compactor and the operational changes that were done. We did take a little step back last year, and I think part of this was us rolling the compactor, but you can see we got as high as 1,264, and you saw for the month of June, we were 1,500 tons per year. That's where we want to be or I think tons, 1,500 pounds per cubic yard is where we want to be. And that's where we want to try to get to. And you can see where we were kind of pre-compactor. So again, we're trying to watch that. We'll get a survey in July and double check those numbers, and hopefully we've improved since the prior year. Sewer lagoons real quick, you can see that we back in 2024, those gallons that we're now taking in sewer lagoons are back up to some of the levels we had pre-COVID. So we're seeing more and more use of the sewer lagoons. Again, we track that. A lot of that's honor system because that's not a manned facility. We talked about the status of our enterprise fund. This did take a big hit with the construction of the cell and the shop. We still maintain we've got about 1.3 million-ish. Again, a 1.2 of that's got to be maintained for the post-closure care by state requirements. And then in addition to that, I'll say we hit a bottom. And now I think we know, and as we've budgeted more revenue than we've got expenses. We're on the rebound this year. The last 2 years, we're actually spending more money than we were bringing in, which was expected, but we can't do that forever, obviously. We are approaching, we've got about a year left in our contracts with City of Powell, City of Cody, Kill, Two Tough Guys, Matizzi, that all of those over the next year. So this time next year, we'll be negotiating those. Again, we track very carefully the revenue coming in, the income, the expenses, and these again are all budget items. There's our revenue budget items right out of the budget again, but looking at those trends and what we project to have, even play with different things. If we brought in waste from outside, like say Thermop or what an outside source of what those do to the rates, those are all conversations we can have. This is a model we've developed many years ago that we've been tracking. Again, Commissioner Groskopf helped a lot with this. Then former commissioner. Again, same thing right out of the budget. We track our expenses and project those ahead. But if you take all the income, you take all the expenses, we feel that rate needs to be around somewhere around $75 a ton. We're at 65 now. And I'm saying that's the contract rate. So anything we can do to help keep expenses low helps keep the rates low. If we were able to bring waste from an outside entity like Thermop, that just makes those rates lower. And you can see this right here. That's kind of the effective rate, the $75 a ton contract rates, and as high as $80 for other things. Even though that looks like a big jump compared to what you're seeing around the Bighorn Basin and then looking up to like Billings, but other landfills in our area, you can see that we're still about the best game in town as far other than say Billings. But with what we charge is, while a lot of people have been raising their rates all over the state, we have been maintaining the same or actually even lowered it. When I first come to the county, we first started doing integrated plans, we were over $100 a ton having those conversations. To be able to say we're 15 years later and $65 a ton is pretty impressive. But you see what Billings, that they charge different for their people. The out-of-state rate is $55. You see Casper 2 years ago, they were 55 a ton. They're up at $88 a ton now. Fremont County, and this doesn't even include, they get a mill too, but they're $128 a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of different things, some things that to, I guess, think about moving forward operationally. Again, no decisions today, but things to think about moving forward. We talked about the tires. We think that we could charge a little bit more for the tires to help cover those systems. If we raise those rates to better match, Travis has done a lot to compare to other landfills across the region, and we are pretty low there. We could generate another 3,300 per year by additional revenue on the tires. And then we talked about the lower part on the expenses, things that we could do on the expense side to lower our costs for managing the tires. Right now, our tire program is about a wash, where anything that we pay is a wash for what people pay to get rid of their tires. Same thing on petroleum contaminated soil. Those are rates that we can look at adjusted. We'd like to look at adjusting and discuss those with you. And then we talked about the rates likely need to go up And again, you just look at what I showed you in Road and Bridge, the cost of materials and things and people and equipment. Things have gone up and we've been able to hold steady. So we're at that point to really think about that. We are planning on and budgeted to get rid of the one cat track loader, which will save us a little bit of money or get us a little bit of revenue to help us with cash flow. Some things to, I guess, to consider on the expense side. This is a big one. I don't know how popular this would be. I mentioned to all of you Fremont County, which I consider is kind of a similar county. They've got a lot of satellite, different landfills. They operate similarly, but they operate 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. They operate from Tuesday to Saturday. And then I know when we bring it up here to say, well, why can't we operate 5 days a week here, 8 hours a day? I know we'll get a lot of pushback. You know, that's leaving collection vehicle garbage in a vehicle overnight or something like that. It affects our waste haulers. And I know that's huge. But my response to that is, how can Lander and Riverton do it? You know, they've got the same issues we've got. And so those are things that I guess above my pay grade, but that could be considered. You can see what that would save by going to, you know, to a 5 day work week. You know, we could save 140,000, as much as that, in our budget. I will say that may not be popular with our staff. We would probably lose people if we go over that, lose some of our current people. Early indications is probably not a popular concept, but I throw that out there that, you know, if you want to truly look at it from a business and cost side, these are things that I think we as a county should look at. You could say the same thing on Cody. I don't really want to go there, but over the next year, it's something to think about. We didn't even put numbers to it, but I bet it's substantial. Clark landfill. You can see that in 2024, Aaron and Travis pulled up the numbers. We received 25 tons of MSW that was transferred to Cody. To give you kind of a frame of reference, in a day, we take 100 to 120 at Cody in the line pit. So in a year, we get 25 tons. So is it worth at Clark? I know it's a service to the public, but we could save 42,000 a year. But to have a person down there to operate 3 times a week, the things that we've got to do to go move equipment down there to operate it, doesn't make sense. Maybe it does. It's definitely the people of Powell, Cody, Rest Park County are shouldering that burden. And again, I'm not for or against it, but I just throw that out that that's something that I think should be talked about. And then we talked about saving the operator going to an entry level. So that's a savings of about 30,000. We talked about possibly eliminating our extra gate attendant, which is a savings. We talked about renting that tire shredder, which I know that's been a popular subject lately. We could save as much as 20,000 per year in expenses. And that's a trial thing. I'm not for us making that move, but I think it's worth us trying it to see how it goes. Whoops, I didn't mean to go that quick. And then, like I say, we want to increase our emphasis on recycling, the repurpose, reuse, develop our household hazardous waste area, receiving area at Cody. We did put in the budget some things Travis and Edmund are needing in bulb crushing at this is fluorescent lights at Powell and Clark, or Powell and Clark, I say Clark, Powell and Cody. To be able to do that, those are things that we need to keep working on. But that's kind of the highlights of the landfill stuff, and we can go to the budget.
Okay.
What are we doing on time? Not great.
Okay.
This is the least important part. Did I do good to kill it, Steve? Are you good? I need to, yeah, you should have it, right? Okay. Budget.
Revenues first.
Yeah, let me, so I should have it open, 3243, I'll put it, you know, yeah, let's look at revenue. So on the revenue side of things, one thing that we adjusted a little bit, talking with Travis and Aaron, Kill Sanitation, we're not sure why, and it might be maybe, well, I don't even want to go there, but their revenues have not quite kept up to pace. It's hard to, it could be that June's a busier month and we end up coming back into line, but we feel like we better lower that from 390 to 370. Just to, and you can see even the trends that they were well over 400,000 in previous years, and that revenue seems to be dropping for some reason. City of Powell, we think we can raise that from 320 to 330. We're on pace to do 327,000 this year. Powell's doing a great job bringing us all their stuff, which is great. Salvage, this is a lot to reflect that we since did the bid and got our bids for the metal recycling. We had in there 50,000. We should be able to get 120,000 out of that with our current metal prices and looking at the tons that we did the 2 years previous and knowing that we have at least that much there on site. We just got the one item there, which is the property sold, which is that cat, a 2018 track loader that we could sell for, we should be able to get at least 100 grand for that. Annual permits we adjusted from 15 to 17,000 based on what we're actually getting. We're on pace to do about 16.9. Let's see, reimbursements and restitutions. We dropped that from 20,000 to 0 just because we can't really see what is out there on that. So if something pops up, but we're not anticipating any revenue there for that. Interest, we jumped that from 20 to 30,000, even though we did bottom out our enterprise fund, the bank account. We know that we're on the way back up, and not just that, we still have 1.3 million in there. So even at minimal interest, we ought to be able to generate 30,000 in interest income. We talked about the wastewater revenue. We changed it from 125 to 130 just to reflect what's actually coming in. And I think that covers the revenue. Any questions on the revenue?
Madam Chair, just a question. Do you think there should be keels down because two tough guys is taking more?
We thought I didn't want to say that publicly, but that very well could be happening. Just consolidation in the market. Who knows, but that could be what's happening. Because their numbers definitely seem to be up. Two tough guys.
Right.
And they've had some change in management with or takeover with Gill, and I don't know how that had sold and took over, so I don't know how that contributes to things, but there seems to be something going on there that we'll have to keep an eye on it. We talked about, okay, I'm jumping over to expenses now if you guys are good. We talked about, I think Steve's got us covered to reflect the change of the site manager to an entry-level operator, which should be about 30,000-ish, which might get offset by the increase in health insurance that we all know is out there. We do think that we could on the temporary employee, the seasonal employees, you see that we had 78,000. Excuse me. That we lowered that to 0, and that's because, like I say, we can't get those people to even do that. So that's reflected in the budget. Postage was high, current budget shipping for, our postage, I know it looks like it was high. We blew our budget for the current year. Part of that was the cell construction. We were shipping samples overnight for lab geosynthetics, which we're not going to have that anymore. The postage was same, I said that already. Advertising should be lower. Same thing was high in the current year for cell construction to get staff turnover. Every time we do lose somebody, we've got to advertise to get new people. So that's an item. We did drop the utilities for the sewer lagoons from 100 to 0.
Can you go back up 1
Oh,
second?
yep.
Do subscriptions and bonds. Went from 700 to 4,000. Is that?
Oh, because we transferred, we
We
had
good catch.
in other line item, we have our annual or.
This was shifting numbers that are somewhere else. Our Wasteworks software and our, what's the other, Bluebeam, we're
Okay.
down in another item that should be here as we think.
So they're IT subscriptions theoretically.
Yes.
Okay.
IT subscriptions, but when we say IT, these guys pay their own subscriptions because they're enterprise.
Right. Because of the enterprise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the reason that jumped up.
Okay. Thank you.
Good catch. Let's see, drop the utilities for the sewer lagoons to 0. Somebody's paying those, but it's not us. I'll just leave it at that.
Don't tell
It's
Trevor.
at 0. Utilities for the Powell landfill. That one we actually went up from 4,500 to 5,000. That I don't know that there's much we can do there. It kind of is what it is. We went back and looked at all the expenses for the current year. We're on pace to do, I think 4860-ish. So I think that kind of is what it is now that we have the shop.
Okay.
Education training, we did lower that a little bit from 1875 to 1600. Tried to reflect about what we did last year. These guys do go to SWANA annual meeting, which I think is in Cheyenne this year. But we will have less people that go. We'll probably have 2 people that go, I'm guessing 2 or 3 maybe. Unleaded fuel, we raised that from 5,000 to 9,000. Again, that's based on our current year expense. A lot of that's inter-travel between landfills and things like that. We're on pace to do 8,600. So we thought we better keep that at like 9,000 just to be sure.
Okay.
Tires and tire repairs, same thing, went from oh yeah, we lowered it from 7,500 to 5,000. Why did I say 5,000?
Okay.
Its current year is about 2,600. We're thinking, I wanted to cut it a little bit more, but Travis reminded me that I think we've got foam filled tires, some things that every time we pop one of those or to have some issues with those are pretty expensive.
Okay.
So they were reluctant to cut that. Safety PPE from 4,500 to 6,500. Again, I hate to even script on that. That's kind of reflected what we're spending now. Again, our guys we've come a long way on that, and our guys have bought in, and I think we're sitting good there. I mean, I'll say we've been in trouble before with OSHA and this, that. That's not a good place to be.
Okay.
So I like where we're at. Other fill materials and supplies, we dropped from 1,000 to 500. Just again, looking at our current year, we've only spent about 204,000. So trying to just run things tight there and not spend it if we don't need it. Leases and rentals, you can see we blew that really badly in the last budget, and that was us rolling the compactor.
Oh.
I guess I should be talking into the mic. That was us rolling the compactor and us having to rent a replacement compactor. So that's in that. Again, the insurance ended up offsetting all that. But that's why that budget item's so bad.
Yeah.
And then Clark landfill infrastructure repairs, we lowered it from 500 to 200. We don't see anything significant. And based on our current expenditures, that seems to be appropriate. Contract service and professional fees. We changed PAL from 50 to 60. Some of our costs, like our groundwater monitoring costs and things, have gone up. That number also has your contracts for Keel for roll-off services to transfer that waste from PAL to Cody. All that's in that number. We're on pace to do 60,000 in our current year. We don't see that changing going into the current or new fiscal year. So we did recommend moving that to 60,000. Contract services for Matizzi, 10,500 to 13,000. Again, we look at what the actual expenses were. These are things that we pretty much have to do, which is again, all the groundwater related costs, things like that. There's really nothing in there that I see as discretionary. So we better raise that to 13,000. Clark landfill from 16,500 to 20,500. Same thing. We're on pace to do 20,000 in the current year. That also includes Keel for the transfer of the waste to Cody. I think Aaron said we ran 11 trips to Cody from Clark last year. Sewer lagoons. You can see this one's a bit confusing, and this is one that Steve and I have to keep an eye on. This 2.4 billion, that a lot of this is carryover from the previous year. There's 168,257, which we could have in our hands any day now. So if we get it, it would come out of the current budget. We would lower that expense for the new budget.
That's the state reimbursement.
That's the state reimbursement for the project. So we'll have to watch that. Franchise fee, we'll talk about real quickly. I think we were in that $100,000 range. Excuse me. Allergies acting up. You can see that I think Steve and I and some of the other department heads, we got together and estimated what that fee basically is, the services that other departments provide for the enterprise fund, which is everything from the IT, legal, payroll, accounting, things like that. So we've gone through and itemized all that with the various departments, buildings and grounds. We'd like to consider, based on staff recommendations, that we eliminate the custodial side of that because that will keep us, because anyway, the total cost was around 125,000. We'd like to absorb that and do that. The guys feel like they're kind of doing a lot of that now anyway. That would put us back down to around 102,000. And so I think that's what we put back in that budget. I think we pay about 13,500 for Powell. And a lot of that they're doing out of Cody. So they're having to drive from Cody to clean those facilities. We don't know why, but that's what they
Well,
do.
this is a little bit of change in how we budgeted in the past where it was a percentage of.
Yes, this is,
You
and,
Get a set fee.
and I think Steve and I talked about this. I think that makes the most sense because really, no matter when we say a percentage of our revenue,
Right.
If we start taking on thermometer, that doesn't affect what our expenses are that we're having to pay legal or pay. So it really should be, and look at it on a contract term. We could look at it again in 3-4 years and see, and we could do the same thing we just did on what we're really paying and see what those numbers are. And I may turn Aaron loose here, but there's some frustration within our ranks that on the solid waste side is, they want to pay their fair share to other departments, but like when other departments bring them waste, they take it for free, so it costs them nothing. So, you can offset that. And if you think about it, it's a business. It's how they're operating. So, you can look at that should cut both ways. And that's internal. And Aaron could give you numbers, but it's external too. YDOT. Bureau, or I mean, BLM. We talked Game and Fish, some of these others that are free. And you say, well, okay. And my argument to them, and I explained to them, I'm like, Forest Service gives us a bunch of money. We get, whether it be Title I, Title III, YDOT's building us a 2-point-something bridge through Bros. But that doesn't affect them, as in they're operating a money in, money out business. And so when we're doing you got to pay your fair share of enterprise fund, it should work both ways.
Okay.
And I agree with them on that. So,
Okay.
Aaron, did I do a good job? And I think that was revenue. And I guess I should dive into expense, or let's see. Oh, that was it? Okay. Oh, equipment, we noticed that we're not buying anything.
Yep,
And that's it.
maybe selling one.
Maybe selling one. Well, we're hoping to have a good positive year in the green.
Okay, unless there's anything from the other commissioners, I think we'll do the same thing here. Let's give us a little time. July 1, basically to look. I really appreciate what you guys have done, and certainly the landfill looks 100% better than it did years ago. 100%.
Thank you.
I do have one comment.
Okay, I've got one question. So, 102,000, it relates to, Jason's salary, Brian's salary, the work that Road and Bridge has done. I mean, that's a way that the enterprise fund can pay the general fund back. I mean, the general fund can't generate revenue, the enterprise fund can. Are those monies being transferred back to the general fund?
Yes.
Madam Chair,
they keep
yes,
track.
yes, they are. We do keep track of those. I will say, and it's not in the budget. We talked about it internally yesterday. What was the number, Aaron? 220,000? There's the amount of money that was for the sewer lagoon.
Right.
And that was for them to build the cell that they owe, that solid waste, and they know they owe, solid waste owes Road and Bridge, that we could put that in that budget to pay that back. But I can tell you everything else, they pay back. In fact, 25% of my wages are in solid waste budget.
Okay.
So
Track.
we
Okay,
do try to track that.
thank you. Anything else for solid waste or Brian's budgets? Okay, appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Now we're continuing.
with that, we're gonna take about a 5-minute break because we have to get our computers shifted over to SharePoint for the regular agenda information. You want to take 5 minutes real quick? We'll start again at 20 after. We're done with our budget review for today. We'll move into a couple other items. Okay, the next thing on our agenda today is the consent agenda. A little bit of discussion, approval of payroll, approval of year-end vouchers, which will be the last run for this fiscal year. Approve and sign lease for DFS office. That one is completed and signed by the Attorney General's office. The other one that is down there is for probation or public defender's office, and it is not back yet, so we'll have to wait for that one until July 1 meeting. Approve and sign the lease for the public defender's office and then be removed from there. And then approve and allow chair to sign the TANA update certification. That is the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, striking approve and sign lease for public defender's office.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as stated, removing the public defender's office lease. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. The next thing on the agenda is a vehicle for the coroner. An MOU, and just to go in with a little bit of an explanation. About 2 weeks ago, we had a failure of a coroner vehicle. We only have two, and we have coroner vehicles in Cody and Powell. The one in Powell has failed and needs repairs and is barely worth the repairs. So we had a long discussion about how we should move forward with that. That vehicle needs to be repaired. And then we will look at probably trading it in, but because of where we're at in our budget scenario, we're at kind of a crossroads on doing that trade-in right now because we can't spend at this point until the middle of July after our budget hearing. So in the meantime, we are talking about doing an MOU with the coroner and the funeral home to allow us to use one of their vehicles for the purposes necessary for the coroner up until the point that we have the other vehicle repaired. And we have checked with our insurance companies and we are okay as long as the commissioners agree to an MOU and we know what vehicle is being used. That vehicle will be covered under the county insurance when it is being used for the coroner purposes. Are there any questions from the commissioners? You do have a draft MOU in front of you. It does include the vehicle to be used, which is a 2005 Chevy Suburban. As the VIN number and our coroner. Cody, did you have anything else or is that your understanding of what we're doing?
That's correct. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else from the commissioners? Okay, pleasure of the board.
Madam Chair, I move to enter into an MOU with Cody, our county coroner, to use his personal private vehicle as described with in the MOU until our vehicle is repaired or replaced.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and sign the MOU as presented. Any further discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, do we anticipate it's locked in on date, so it says June 24th to September 1st. And I'm assuming we don't anticipate having a problem getting in. We talked about that some of one of the trucks that we were looking at was not on the lot. And so getting it here, I mean, do you anticipate if, let's just say it got longer than September 1st, we would just come back and amend the MOU?
Good.
My understanding right now is we're going to get the old Suburban repaired and we're going to see how much life is left in that. And if it makes more sense to continue to use that in the meantime, we'll just stick with what we have. If we find that it's unreliable for the circumstances, then we'll continue on finding bids to get a new vehicle for the coroner's office. So this just bridges that.
My intent with the motion was until our current vehicle is repaired or replaced. So if we get it repaired within next week, yes, this MOU is good until September, but he can go back to using the old one anytime before.
Right.
Just can't, if we go beyond September 1st, as stated in the MOU, we'll have to amend.
We'll have to amend it. Okay.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Cody.
So the next thing on our agenda is a draft resolution. Commissioner Simone provided draft resolution, as you're all well aware of on the news, opposing the sale. This resolution is opposing the sale of public lands. There is lots of discussion out there about what isn't being drafted in the bill and when it is or isn't being acted on. So that's the discussion that we need to have and decide if we want to wordsmith this resolution or what the pleasure of the board. You all have it in front of you. So.
Do you want me
discussion.
to read
Go
it?
ahead.
Do you want me to read it?
If you want to read it, that's fine.
Okay. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Park County, Wyoming, opposing the sale of Wyoming public lands under a provision inserted by U.S. Senator Mike Lee, R. Utah, into the Senate version of the Congressional Republicans' budget bill known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, and urging Wyoming's federal delegation to defend public access, economic stability, and local control. Whereas public lands are a cornerstone of Wyoming's identity, economy, and heritage, supporting multiple uses, including hunting, grazing, tourism, energy development, and recreation for residents and visitors alike. And whereas a provision inserted by U.S. Senator Mike Lee, R. Utah, into the Senate version of the Congressional Republicans' budget bill, informally known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, would authorize or require the sale or disposal of certain federal public lands, including lands located in Wyoming. And whereas the sale or privatization of these lands would threaten public access, disrupt longstanding grazing rights, fragment critical wildlife habitat, and negatively impact outdoor recreation and tourism-based economies in counties across the state. And whereas the inclusion of Wyoming in this provision stands in sharp contrast to the strategic exclusion of the state of Montana, which also has significant public lands, but was reportedly protected from this provision due to the objections of a key member of Congress who opposed public land sales in their state. And whereas this exclusion highlights the importance of strong advocacy by a state's federal delegation to protect public lands, and Wyoming's delegation should do the same to safeguard the access, economy, and values of the people they represent. And whereas public lands belong to all Americans, and any effort to dispose of them should be subject to transparent public debate, local consent, and respect for the communities that depend on them. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Park County, Wyoming, that one, we strongly oppose the provision inserted by U.S. Senator Mike Lee, R. Utah, into the Senate version of the Congressional Republicans' budget bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, that would authorize the sale or privatization of federal public lands in Wyoming. Two, we urge Senator John Barrasso, Senator Cynthia Lummis, and Representative Harriet Hageman to vigorously oppose this provision and any similar efforts to reduce public land holdings or restrict public access in the state of Wyoming. Three, we call on our delegation to demand the removal of Wyoming from any land sale mandates and to use their positions to ensure continued multiple use management of federal lands in our state. Four, we support keeping public lands in public hands with collaborative and locally informed stewardship that respects both conservation and sustainable economic use. Five, a copy of this resolution shall be transmitted to the offices of Wyoming's congressional delegation, the governor of Wyoming, and the Wyoming County Commissioners Association.
Thank you. Discussion, Commissioner?
Madam Chair, I'd like to say I'm not opposed to this at this time. However, since we put this on the agenda, as chairman, co-chair of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, State Land and Water, the WCCA, Natural Resource Committee or employees with Tristram Rice and Micah Christensen have set up a Zoom meeting with the committees of land, water, and ag, as well as open to all commissioners in the state for tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. And in reading their email that they sent, they have worked with the Joint Natural Resource Committee chairs to set up this meeting to discuss the current language, proposed processes as possible outcomes of the bill, and to answer any questions you may have. I think we should postpone this decision until the July 1st meeting, which is a week. to find out as much as we can on what are, what the real, what, you know, more clarification on what this bill could do or couldn't do. It has potential to help, but it also has negatives. So I think until we find out further and we've set up a meeting with this, that we can enter into and answer questions with the Wyoming Congressional Delegation as well as the Natural Resource Committee. And I'd like to postpone this until a week from today.
Commissioner Stewart?
Madam Chair, I'm ready to send a strong message due to the tone of some of these our representatives today. I think it's something that it's not going to hurt by sending it early, and then we can sit in on that meeting. But I would like to send a strong message as soon as possible from this board.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, there is nothing in this resolution that really against. It seems that's the way I feel, that our public lands are just that. There are public lands. And since we heard from the town hall with Representative Hagerman, she didn't really address it. She had an opportunity to address it at that point and did not. And so the way this resolution is, yeah, that's how I feel. And I don't think that postponing it or having more political discussions on it, or even seeing any kind of benefit that might come from this is going to change my attitude. So I'm in favor of this resolution, and to send a message now that this is how we feel in Park County.
Commissioner Teal, I totally understand what you are saying about waiting. My concern with waiting is everything that I have read, and I have been following this very closely, is that they are set to vote on this tomorrow, or excuse me, Thursday potentially. There's some parliamentarian hang up to determine if some of the big beautiful bill is, some of the provisions being brought are germane to the bill. I don't think this is going to get ruled as not germane, because part of this resolution or this provision is distributing funds back to the federal government. So 5% goes to the local governments, 5% to backlog for the Forest Service or BLM, but the rest of it goes to the US Treasury. So I don't think that the parliamentarian is going to rule this section as not germane. And my concern is if we wait till July 1st, we're going to miss the window to make a statement. I thought about this, and when I came prepared to talk about this today, this is why I feel strongly about why we need to do today. There's already an established process that allows for the disposal of federal lands with the opportunity for critical public input. This provision undermines that. There's already an existing process to dispose federal lands. It's formal. The public gets to have input, and I think this undermines that. Montana has been removed because Montana has equal, I don't remember the percentage, public lands that Wyoming has. Nomination of tracts of land includes language of, quote, interested parties, which isn't defined in this provision. So it can be local governments, but it also says the words interested parties. I don't know what that means. If that passes, does that mean I can nominate? Anybody can nominate a tract of land? Number 4, priority consideration has 6 criteria when you look at the bill. And if you want to look at this bill, it's pages 30 through 41 that deals specifically with land, but it has 6 criteria for priority consideration of who gets first dibs on the land. But it doesn't prevent selling of lands that don't meet these criteria. And number 5, the secretary may give local governments right of first refusal on purchasing, may, not shall. And number 6, if a person owns surrounding tracts of land, so there's a provision in there where some people, you can only buy 2 tracts of land. But if you own surrounding tracts of land, you can purchase unlimited tracts of land, which in my mind can give wealthy landowners an advantage to hold vast quantities of land and therefore restrict public access. And those are my 6 main concerns. And with the timing, I feel that that is why I brought this resolution for consideration. I think it's critical. I think that our delegation should hear our voices. And I think in our county specifically, people feel very strongly about public lands.
And Madam Chair, and I appreciate Commissioner Teal being part of the Ag Water and State Committee. And to be able to bring us some more information on what is being discussed tomorrow. And if there are any changes and if there is any kind of benefit. I'd appreciate to get that information too, but while we are in session now, I would like to send this message off with the resolution.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm agreeing with everybody here, with the exception of, from what I understand from our natural resource and the committee, is the language is still being drafted and being changed as we speak. And so I feel like we could be putting a decision or an issue out there before we even know what we're dealing with. And I think we should get all the information we can before we act on a resolution. I have no problem with, to me, a resolution is a very strong stance. Are you willing, if they make changes to it, to undo a resolution?
Madam Chair,
Or you-
I think we need to consider that at this time, the draft that is out there for the public to see states the word mandates public land sale. It doesn't say they can or they may, it says mandates. And so I think we're operating in a moment of time with the language that they've drafted. And so if they change the word, then, that's what we're after. We want them to change the word.
No, I get that. I do that. But the hypocrisy between this and the development standards is it is just a draft. We've sent a map out and we criticize the public for commenting and getting mad because it's just in the making process. That's where this is at. This is still in the legislative process being discussed. It's not even close to that stage yet. And until we get this information, I think we're prematurely making a statement that is unwarranted at this time.
Commissioner.
Madam Chair, my stance on it is the same. This to me stands for what I feel. And I feel that the numerous emails I've got over the past 2 days, I've not got one that says go for it. They've all been supportive of stopping it. And I've got numerous emails in the past 24, 38 hours, whatever. But it's what it says what I believe. And I think it says what the majority of this county believes. So I say we move forward.
I feel the same way, Commissioner. We're not hearing from people that, well, if they change this or if they change that, or there's conditions that I would accept this. We're not hearing that. We're hearing don't sell public land. And that's the stance that I would have also, that I don't think there's anything that I've heard that they could change that would change my mind. I believe in this resolution and I believe we should not let them sell federal land.
I'd ask one question then. So this board is in your belief is no matter what, public land should not be sold.
Not at the federal level. The only time that I would think about that is if it would be sold to the adjacent municipality or the adjacent county, but they haven't said that. That has been discussed. It has not been put in the wording.
No, it hasn't.
So, if it was discussed, it must not have been received very well because it hasn't been added. But yes, and there could be changes. I'm not saying that it couldn't change within another week or two. And if it does, we could address it at that time. If there's a reason and they make enough change that this board feels like they need to be heard again, we can do that.
Madam Chair, just in follow-up to Commissioner Teal. I think, Commissioner Teal, both the BLM, the Federal Land Planning and Management Act, the Forest Service through the National Forest Management Act have plenty of authority to transfer landlocked Wyoming communities. There's already a process in place for transferring lands. And so this provision just circumvents that process. So in my mind, why are we undermining an existing process and we're not giving opportunity in this for adequate public input on the sale of those lands? There's a process for public input right now. So I don't think it's a matter of, do we think you should never sell or that in no circumstance? I think there's a process established and this circumvents that process. This provision, Senator Lee's provision, circumvents the process.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we adopt the resolution as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the resolution for signature as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. On abstention. Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the board today?
Madam Chair, that would be resolution 2025-37.
Okay, Kelly, if you get a printed copy prepared for signature. And that probably needs to happen while we're still here so that we can get it out of here today. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other business to come before the board?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Oh.
so much.
I do.
We're so low.
Thank you. Take care. Commissioners, we did have an invite, from Laura Bell on this public, on the state lands thing
Oh, yeah.
for July 15. Our agenda is a normal work session day on that day. I have talked to Laura, I've had a couple different conversations with her.
What day is it? Sorry.
It's Tuesday, the 15th.
Okay.
They're doing some tour stuff in the morning at some different places around Park County, but they are also having a pretty significant lunch with some state delegation people. They'd like as many local elected officials as possible at a luncheon at the Pitchfork Ranch on the 15th. I need to give her an RSVP.
Yeah.
This would just be,
They sent that to everybody.
they did, I know, but I asked her to wait until I could find out what you guys wanted to do with the agenda or attend. If we want to have a regular agenda, work session stuff in the morning and not go until noon, or if you, what you want to do. July 15.
We already have a public hearing set for 9:30, so you have to meet that.
Okay. Okay, I don't.
We only have that day to approve our budget for the statute.
Okay, so that's 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, well. could be
Depending on
45
discussion,
minutes, depending
yeah.
on-
Oh, that's our third meeting.
but
No.
Yeah.
It is?
That's our second of the month.
No, no, it is the third.
He's right. It's the third because the eighth is.
It is the third.
Yeah, because we have a meeting on the third.
Some P and Z. Okay, then the question still comes up. Do you want me to limit the amount of things on that budget that day to be able to attend this? Or do we go ahead and book that day as normal?
Oh, you can limit it. That's fine. You can,
Seen it, right?
yeah, if somebody has to wait for a subdivision, they can have to wait.
Yes.
Well, you're not helping me. Okay,
That's my only
okay.
thing, Doc.
Do you want me to limit and then we can attend what we can? If-
And when is that? I mean, 15th, but what time down there?
Well, down there, they're saying the lunch is 12:30 to whatever, 2 o'clock or something. So we just need to be out of here by 11:30 or 11:45. So
And we
Do I
all
need to
go.
Change my time.
we can on an invitation on that situation. We are not making any decisions. We are,
So we don't meet with the staff. So you want me, I mean, if we don't meet with the staff that morning, we could set the public hearing for 8:30 to amend the budget.
we could
And
have,
then
no, we could have other planning and zoning things.
Okay.
But so I'll try to limit the agenda to be done by 11:30 or so.
Okay,
if
but
that
we
works.
could always, I mean, if we need to
Okay.
move, but let me know ASAP because that goes to the newspaper on Friday.
Okay, yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's only the public hearing.
How long are you gone? What dates are you gone?
The 7th through the 19th.
Oh, you're gone 7 through 19?
And I've already
Yes.
RSVP'd and basically I've already